me if you want to listen.
Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here?
This is it. Don't get scared.
Hey there guys, welcome back to a brand new Flip Pick live show. This is it, don't get scared now. And tonight we have a loaded, jam-packed live show where I have a lot to talk about. The first thing we have to talk about is the brand new movie from Chris Stuckmann, Shelby Oaks. Then I'm going to talk about the brand new Paul Thomas Anderson flick, One Battle After Another. And then I'm going to do I'm going to announce the giveaway winners from last week where I promised you guys some awesome, well, I wouldn't say they're both awesome, but I will say there are two 4K Blu-rays I'm going to give away. So stick around for that. And then at the very end of the live show, and by very end, I mean in about 25 minutes, I will dive into your magical, mystical, and glorious questions. So if you have any questions or topics you want me to talk about, get those in right now, and I promise you I will cover each and every single one of them in explicit detail. So thank you for joining me once again. We are on the dawn of October. I can smell the crispness in the air. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I can almost taste apple cider. And sometimes when I look outside of my window into the bleak abyss of my backyard, I can see Michael Myers looming. And I hope one day I wake up with him hovering over me, holding a kitchen knife. But nevertheless, we're not here to talk about that and childhood trauma. No, we're here to talk about movies and have some fun. So with all that said, grab something salty to eat, something caffeinated and potentially carbonated to eat or drink, and let's just dive into the live show. But before we do that, let me straighten out my microphone. Come on. Push. Come on, little one. Push. There you go. And thank you guys so much for joining me. I got everyone in here right now. It's nice to see you guys. We got some YouTube members. We got Logo Face. What happened to the bro hat? You mean the bro hat from 2015? We got a few other members in here, and hopefully more show up soon. We got Chris Solomo here, who says, "You're early today, John." Well, it's 8 o'clock, and the feeling is right, and I felt like this was the right time to go live. And we will have another live stream this weekend. But without further ado, what do you say we just jump into the main topics of this live show? And thank you guys so much for joining me on this very impromptu Tuesday night live stream. So it just felt right. Okay, so I watched the brand new movie, Shelby Oaks, directed by Chris Stuckmann. Now, when it comes to Chris Stuckmann, I grew up with Chris Stuckmann, figuratively and literally. From my early 20s into my early 30s, we were very, very good friends. We've made countless videos together, flip trip videos, hilariosity videos. He stayed at my house. I slept on his parents' floor multiple times when he lived at home. And we've shot fireworks at each other, dressed like Bane and Batman on top of a roof. I'm pretty sure we broke a few laws that day. And we've been on countless adventures together and shared insights. And, you know, I like to think I know some of his deepest, darkest secrets, and he knows mine. So, and even though life, you know, changes and evolves and people sort of change and go different directions, you know, I was happy to see that he got to make a feature-length film, because I know that was always his goal when starting YouTube. Yeah, he wanted to review movies and do the film criticism thing, but ultimately his goal was to be a filmmaker. And I respect that. Why? Because, well, he sort of achieved it, and you got to appreciate shit like that. So after years of consistency and pumping out the videos, he got to make a movie. And I think the path that he found to make the movie was definitely unique to creating content on the internet. And what I mean by that is, because of his fan base and his following and his YouTube career, he was able to use that to catapult his first debut film as a film director. And we'll back way up. Let's back way up. Going back a couple years ago, he started what is it called? A crowd-funded Kickstarter campaign to make a horror film. And that thing broke records. It earned over $1 million, which is baffling to think about when you close your eyes. And I'm sure those are things he never could have imagined when he lived in a shitty apartment a decade ago, eating cans of SpaghettiOs. And trust me, I stayed at that shitty apartment on a very lumpy mattress that had blood splatter on it. Okay? But he went from that to making a film. And not only just making a film, gaining over $1 million in fan support to do that. And hey, that's awesome. That means you have loyal, dedicated supporters and fans who really believe in you and want to see you do this shit. And not only that, I've gotten a star in one of Chris Stuckmann's short films called Notes from Melanie, where I played a douche bag. I know it's not a far cry from reality, but I got to play Johnny Flexter, a B-rate movie actor, and that was a good time. So because of his crowd-funded film, it gained the attention of Neon and Mike Flanagan as an executive producer on the movie, which is pretty phenomenal. And we're going to talk all about the movie, but we're going to start slow, so just hang on. So I know this thing has been in development for a very long time, and like I previously mentioned, throughout the years, Stuckmann and I would hang out all the time, and there are some ideas I saw in his new movie, Shelby Oaks, that I saw come to fruition up on the big screen that I remember him talking about, or sort of reading through the pages of some of his earlier scripts from even 10 years ago that I saw in this movie. For example, there's some evil, demented animals that you might see here and there. And I remember that was an idea he had many, many years ago. And I remember he used to stay at my house, and I would wake up in the afternoon and you would go to my guest room and he was in there sitting Indian style on the bed on his laptop, typing up notes for a script or coming up with ideas. So the dude has been dedicated for a very, very long time. And I almost envy that amount of dedication. I really do. So I think it's pretty awesome that Neon picked this movie up. And I will say this from a marketing standpoint, I think Neon is doing this film every favor they possibly can when it comes to the marketing material, the posters. I think they did a really good job with the trailer for this film and really getting people excited to watch it. And I think the marketing for this film has been pretty top notch. I think he almost got lucky with the marketing style that Neon has done for this film. I'm blown away by it. I mean, it's sort of surreal to walk into a Regal theater and see a poster of a movie that was made by a dude that used to sleep on your couch. It's just kind of a weird feeling, but sort of interesting, right? And I think it's kind of cool. So, all right. So let's talk about Shelby Oaks. The main premise of this is the plot is the main actress is Camille Sullivan, who plays Mia, and she's searching for her long-lost sister, Riley, who would make content on the early days of YouTube back in 2010, 2012, and she would lead a group called the Paranormal Paranoids, and they would essentially make ghost hunting videos and found footage type videos, and I liked that aspect of the story. And that's sort of the way the movie opens up. The first 20 minutes of Shelby Oaks, I think, may have been my favorite part of the film. And hear me out for a second, because there's a lot of back and forth clips of showing you screen recordings of what old YouTube used to look like and found footage clips from the Paranormal Paranoids and really setting up the premise of the film. And I think those first 20 minutes, the reason I think it works so well is it doesn't try to do more than maybe the premise should. And I think if the whole movie was almost structured in that way, where you have screen captures of like old YouTube videos and screen recordings of what old YouTube used to look like from 2010, which was very nostalgic to see, and then you cut with found footage, I think maybe more of that throughout the film would have been beneficial to it. But after those first 20 minutes, you get the title shot of the movie, Shelby Oaks. And from there, it turns into like a standard film with a little bit of found footage throughout. And I thought the lead actress, Camille Sullivan, who plays the character Mia, the older sister, who is the main actress in the film, I think she was one of the best things about the film. I think she gave like the standout performance. And knowing Chris, I could tell sort of what he was going for with her, or at least I would assume so. He was sort of going for like a Toni Collette from Hereditary meets a Naomi Watts from The Ring. That was sort of the vibe I was getting from her character. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to the movie are some of the influences and comparisons I have to make when it comes to Shelby Oaks. Like I just mentioned, the lead actress in this film definitely gave me strong lead actress vibes from Hereditary and The Ring, meets probably the Blair Witch from 2016. I would say you combine all three of those things, and that's sort of the vibe and tone of Shelby Oaks that I was picking up. And, you know, those are all movies I know Stuckmann loves. And there are also some very strong influences. And if you've watched his videos, you probably will hear him say this a million times over. If you've just watched his video on Signs, the dude loves M. Night Shyamalan. And you can definitely see that M. Night Shyamalan influence at times. The very long take static shots where the camera's not moving and you're just sort of glued looking at this one POV for an extended amount of time where it's almost uncomfortable. I thought a few scenes throughout the movie really worked with that. Some of the other things I really enjoyed, like I mentioned, the first act, I think builds up that tension and it builds up the question, like what happened to this girl when she was ghost hunting? Where is she? What happened? And I think that main hook was like the best thing about the movie. Also, I will say this. When it comes to the Neon picking this movie up, I know they increased the budget. It went from like $1.4 million to like 2.8, or at least that's what Wikipedia says. I'm not an accountant. I'm not quite sure. But I know for a fact they did some reshoots with the movie. I know they had, I know Mike Flanagan gave Stuckmann some notes, and I know he also had the Newton brothers do who composed Shelby Oaks. They came in and did some of the music for it, which I think the music and the sound of the VFX and the sound for this movie really do help polish it. I will say there are times where that music and the sound design really did help the movie flow and made it more engaging. So I think that was like some of the highlights of the movie. And there are some practical effects that I think worked for the most part, but at the same time, hey, I understand he's a first-time filmmaker, okay? And you do have a limited budget and you have limited experience. And, you know, things aren't going to be perfect, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Just hang on. So once this movie, after the first 20 minutes, sort of dives into your standard horror film, I do think there are some, like, there's some fun to be had. There's a very shocking moment in the first 20 minutes of the movie where it sort of catapults the story to go. And from there are some sequences that I thought were very well done. And I can tell Stuckmann put a lot of thought into these. For example, there's a scene where the main character is watching a mini DV tape that connects to her sister, and she is glued to the TV that she's watching it on. And during that sequence, that feels like it lasts 5 minutes, the camera slowly pans into the screen. And it reminded me of a scene from another movie called The Ring, where a very similar scene does in fact happen, almost identical. And that's one of my sort of takeaways from this, is there's a lot of things that feel a bit derivative from a handful of other movies. And listen, I know pretty much everything that has been done already exists. Like anything that you can do already exists somewhere, somehow in another movie, especially in the horror genre for the most part. But I think that scene was very well done. Another sequence that stood out to me in this was there is one scene where the character goes to a prison, and that was shot at the Mansfield Reformatory, where they shot Shawshank Redemption. And with all that said, my name is Morgan Freeman. Have you seen Shelby Oaks? And I thought that was one of the coolest sequences in the film. Now, that's a place I've been, and I know it's a place Stuckmann's been many times, and he's even said he's wanted to shoot movies or scenes there. And I think that was visually, aesthetically, and as far as the atmosphere goes, I think that entire sequence at the Mansfield Reformatory, where the mystery takes this lead character, I think was one of the highlights of the movie. There are some cool shots. You might have seen the one shot in the trailer where the camera's sort of like following after the lead actress running down one of the catwalks in the prison. But I will say, in that sequence, when watching the movie, there is one scene where the lead actress is in a prison cell and you just hear a whoosh, and it's just a sound effect, and she flies out of the cell and runs away, and you're like, what happened there? Was it just a sound effect that did that, or was it something else? So maybe there was a budget constraint issue with that. Maybe they couldn't put what they wanted to in that scene, so they replaced it with just a whoosh sound effect to scare the lead actress and run away. But that's one small, nitpick, and I'm sure that was probably a budget issue. They just couldn't maybe afford the VFX that they really wanted for that sequence. And I have talked to Stuckmann over the last couple of years, and I do remember a conversation from, maybe a year and a half ago, where he did say there were a few VFX issues that just due to budget and time, they couldn't quite get right. And I know for a fact one of those sequences is towards the end of the movie. And when watching it, I definitely think the influx of money from Neon helped polish that ending scene a little bit, but we'll get to the ending. Without any spoilers, we'll get there. As far as some of the negatives I have with the movie go, I think the cohesiveness of the mystery and going from point A to point B to point C feels a bit clunky. And as far as like the logistics of it go, it feels a bit questionable. And without spoiling anything, I'll just be very vague. There's a prison in the movie, but where the lead actress needs to go is conveniently like a football throw away. It's like all of these locations just somehow coincidentally are in the same like 1 mile radius of each other. And you ask yourself, well, if you've been looking for your sister for a decade, how did you like not find her? It's just like, I'm pretty sure you could search for 2 days in this general area and maybe locate something that would unravel this mystery a bit further. So maybe I'm overthinking it, but that was like one little logistical thing I think maybe wasn't quite thought out as much, or maybe as polished up as it should have been. What's another thing here? But as far as some of the narrative and some of the story and some of the connections go, what drove that character to go from one place to another, I felt was just maybe somewhat flimsy. But I only watched the movie once. Maybe I missed something, but that's sort of my takeaway from it. And when you get into the third act of the movie, I think this might be where my biggest issue is. It really, you have this mystery and you have this journey. And when it comes to many movies, sometimes the destination isn't quite as rewarding as you hoped it would be. And for me, there's movies that exist like Hereditary, right? You have a great movie, very well made, the first 2 acts very well crafted, but when you get to that conclusion, it's like, well, because. And I could tell what he was going for with this. He wanted something that was visceral and a little bit fucked up and a little bit dark and edgy, and I think there were highlights of that in there, but as far as the execution goes, I don't know if it quite stuck the landing. I don't think the ending of this movie really worked for me, and I think maybe had it just been a little bit more ambiguous, maybe that would have been the right ending to this movie. But I definitely, I can appreciate the direction he was going for with it, but I don't know if the ending really stuck that landing it was looking for. That's really my main criticism with it. I think the ending of the film, had it been tweaked or twisted or just maybe just you didn't get everything, I almost think that would have been a better ending. So that's really my main criticism with the movie. But yeah, I think as far as like a first time movie goes, I think as far as like the direction of the movie goes and getting the most out of your performers, I think Stuckmann pretty much did what he could with this movie. I do. And here's my main like constructive criticism. If he's watching this, and if not, whatever. I think Chris should maybe for his next film direct something someone else has written and step away from writing just for his next film. I think he should focus on just directing it and getting the most out of the performances and showcasing what he can do with a camera and the cinematography and telling the story visually, and step away from actually writing the story. Because for me, when it comes to Shelby Oaks, I don't think it necessarily felt that original at times. And I definitely, as a dude who makes YouTube videos, really appreciated the first 20 minutes of that YouTube vibe of it, especially older retro YouTube, which I just miss, and seeing some of those clips of what the old browser looked like in YouTube and the old the video player in there. I miss things like that, and it was nice to sort of go back in time and watch that. And plus, there's something even more creepy and eerier about early YouTube, especially when you watch it in a horror film. So I think those are my overall thoughts on Shelby Oaks. Let me check my notes right here. I took 5 notes for this, so hang on tight. Yeah, I think that's my overall conclusion on it. And I'm going to stand by that. So yeah, I definitely think it's a good first time movie. I think this is like a good genre for him to exist in. And I would be curious what he does with his next film, maybe having the experience that he has on this one. And possibly and hopefully in the next one he has more of a budget to play with, and he can maybe execute some of his ideas. But I really feel like the detriment of this movie with the premise and the story was he tried to do more than he necessarily needed to for the story, especially with some of the visuals. And I understand budget limitations. I understand that completely. You're talking to a guy who uses party poppers as special effects during live streams. But I really feel like sometimes less would have been more throughout the film, So those are my overall thoughts on Shelby Oaks. If you guys have seen the movie, what did you think about it? I'm curious to know. And if you haven't, the movie does come out. I believe it comes out this Friday. So look out for that at limited theaters. But nevertheless, hey, congrats to him. He got to make a movie. I think that's awesome. But I was sort of, I don't know. My biggest question is, why was this the story you necessarily felt compelled to make? And, I guess that's my biggest question. So those are my thoughts on Shelby Oaks. Maybe I'll do a more in-depth analysis of it at some point that's edited and more well thought out. But I did see the movie like a couple days ago, and those are my quick thoughts on it. Someone says he wants to direct Metroid. That would be interesting. That would be like a $250 million movie. Quentin says, you talking about Shelby Oaks was not on my 2025 bingo card. Oh, how could I not talk about it? I have to. It's a movie made by a dude I used to be best friends with and a fellow YouTuber. I gotta talk about it. And the last thing I do want to say about this is, it is sort of interesting that the new generation of filmmakers, or especially in the horror genre, like the directors of Talk to Me, for example, did originate from YouTube. I think that's really interesting. And I think going forward, you're probably going to see more of that, because anyone who wants to talk about movies or be involved in movies, the easiest way to get into that universe is to start with YouTube. It's the easiest way to get your name known and get your movies out there, or your content out there, or get your name known. So you got to respect things like that. Chris Stuckmann beats Paul Thomas Anderson for Best Director at Oscars 2026. We're going to talk all about Paul Thomas Anderson in just a few seconds. Chris Stuckmann has gone downhill like M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, there's definitely some M. Night Shyamalan nods and references in this film. If you want my grade, if you want my final flicking grade on Shelby Oaks, I'd give it a C. I'll insert a big C graphic right there. I give it a C for Chris Stuckmann. And if you like that, you can click right here and get Stuckmannized. Which should have been the tagline under the poster. Just putting it out there. Right under the title, Shelby Oaks. It should have been, watch this movie if you want to get Stuckmannized. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Go check out the movie. Support it. Definitely support it. I would like to see what he could do with more resources and more money next time. I really would. But like I said, I would love to see him direct something else someone else wrote. I think he should do that for his next project. All right. Logo Face says, I just wish Chris would actually critique movies in his reviews, but I understand why he doesn't. Well, you have to understand, when your goal is to be a filmmaker and not a movie reviewer or a critic, why keep doing that? Why keep burning bridges? Why piss people off that you might work with? So I get it. I get where he's coming from. I do. But I still want to talk shit about movies because I have no aspirations of becoming a film director. All right. All right. So keep getting your questions in. I see you guys. Tons of questions already popping up in the chat, and I will get to those. But the last main movie I want to talk about that I just watched a couple days ago, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, is a little movie called One Battle After Another. Now, this movie is getting critical praise. A lot of people are saying this is like their favorite movie of the year. They love it. And for me, I think I liked it a lot. And there are definitely sequences in this film and performances that, as a dude who loves movies, I clung on to and loved every second of it. And there are things that I watched in this movie that I wish other movies could just somewhat incorporate in their own movies. Like, for example, there's a car chase sequence that takes place in a desert during the third act of this sequence, and it's very Hitchcockian. The way that it's filmed with this POV angle, it's very suspenseful and eerie, and the way the camera moves over the hills, I love things like that. I love that way of filmmaking. It's not your standard typical way of making movies nowadays, right? It's not your straight to streaming slop, as I like to call it. It feels like a well-crafted film that had some thought go into it, that definitely took inspiration from other movies in the past that were just groundbreaking at the time, such as like sort of a Hitchcock movie like North by Northwest. Especially that car chase sequence in that film was very similar to the car chase sequence in One Battle After Another. But first, let's back up. Let's back way up. When it comes to One Battle After Another, it's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who has made a few of my favorite movies of all time. Now, would I say this is in my top 5 Paul Thomas Anderson movies? Yeah, probably. But my 2 favorites by far and away are still always going to be There Will Be Blood, Bastard in a Basket, Bastard in a Basket. I drink your milkshake, I drink it up. Yes, Eli, my good boy, Eli, you false prophet. Let me hear you say it, Eli. Let me hear you say it. So Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the best performances of all time, but we're going to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in this movie. And also, I think Boogie Nights. I think arguably I got to go with Boogie Nights being my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie when it comes to rewatchability, because I could probably rewatch that movie every couple of years. Just the performances, the tone, the time period that it takes place in, and Mark Wahlberg in that movie is like comedic gold. Hey, Jack, I've been thinking a lot about my name lately, and every time I close my eyes, I see these bright, shiny letters that say Dirk Diggler. I just love it. But there are some awesome performances in One Battle After Another. And as far as the story goes, it's sort of a political satire. That is the tone of the movie. It's about ex-revolutionaries who reunite after 16 years in hiding when their enemy resurfaces and kidnaps one of their daughters. And the main actor is played by Leo, who plays I don't remember his name. Doesn't matter. Oh yeah, Leo plays Bob Ferguson. That's his name. And it also stars Sean Penn, who plays, what is it, like Colonel Lockjaw or something, very on the nose. And you can definitely pick up on the heavy-handed political satire of this movie. But the thing I liked most about it was, when it comes to like the commentary of the movie, is it shows extremism on both sides of the debate. Like, no one's ultimately perfect at the core, and I liked that about it. I think that was like the biggest takeaway from the movie for me. But when it comes to Leo's performance in this movie, and when it comes to Leonardo DiCaprio, it feels like that man can do no wrong. He's probably one of my like favorite actors working. When it comes to his performances in movies like Django Unchained or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I love that shit. And you definitely get little tones of Rick Dalton, his character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in this movie. And I would also say it sort of feels like he was taking inspiration from Jeff Bridges in The Big Lebowski at some points in this movie, especially when you catch up with him a little bit later in life and he's just like a drunk and he's addicted to drugs and he's just sort of like a burnt out who's paranoid. But there's like a comedic element to it. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And also, one running gag early on in the movie, or throughout the movie, is he cannot remember the password to figure out where he needs to go every time he makes this phone call. And I thought that was a hilarious gag that they kept playing throughout the movie. So I liked that quite a bit. But I think Leo was like the best thing about this entire movie. Now, I will say, it definitely felt like it took the first act of the movie to get me acclimated into the tone and what they were going for. Because the way it starts out, it's just like boom, boom, boom. And then you see some dude with a boner and you're like, why does he have a boner? Where is this going? And slowly but surely you get those answers, as you typically do in life when you see a dude with a boner. Just putting it out there. Or at least, you know, you hope you get the answers you want. But anyway, it definitely took like a minute to get acclimated to the tone of this movie. And I would say like my least favorite act of the movie was the first act. But by the second act and the third act, once the story picks up and you get more Leo in the movie and you get more of that confrontation between Sean Penn's character, who's the antagonist of the movie, and Bob Ferguson, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his daughter, I thought that's when the movie like really excelled and got my attention, and the pacing picked up a little bit. But keep in mind, this movie is like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. And most Paul Thomas Anderson movies are pretty long. But I will say, and I think a lot of them, you could arguably say they are slow burns where the pacing is sort of up and down. But for me, like I just mentioned, those two previous movies like Boogie Nights or There Will Be Blood, I was still captivated and drawn to the story. And I think one of my negatives with this is I stopped really caring about the narrative throughout the film halfway through. And I was sort of just like, okay, I care about Leo. I care about this character, what's going to happen. But as far as like the narrative necessarily went, I didn't care as much as I think the movie was hoping I would. But not to say I wasn't entertained, because there are multiple scenes, like long extended takes of dialogue and sequences that I loved. And when it comes to the technical aspects of this film, the way that it was shot is just beautiful. It has a wide format. I know they did it, what is it, Panavision or something like that, 70 millimeter, where it just has this wide scope to it. I love when newer films can do things like that, where you just watch it and it feels like a film, where you feel like you can see the grain coming through and it's dancing on the screen and it feels like it has a heartbeat and a pulse, and that detail just looks so much better than it ever could with some digital movie of the week that you would watch on Netflix. So if for anything else, the technical aspects of this film are just chef's kiss. Loved it. A few other things I enjoyed. I like some of the emotional themes throughout the film. It definitely has, like, I would say, I won't spoil anything, but it sort of has like a Hamlet vibe, like a classic story trope vibe at some points. And I will just say, I'm going to keep this very surface level. It gave me a bit of a Star Wars vibe. I know that's crazy. I know that's weird. You're probably like, John, what the hell are you talking about? But it gave me a slight Star Wars vibe, and I'll just leave it there. That's all I'm going to say about it. So anyway, I enjoyed the movie. Is it my favorite movie of the year? Definitely not. But I think it's anytime there's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, I'm going to watch it no matter what. And I will say, the year's not over yet. And, it could be in my top 10 of the year. I quite enjoyed a lot about it. So those are my thoughts on One Battle After Another. Did you guys see the movie? Did you guys like it? What did you think about it? Let me know down below. And if I had to give this movie a grade, I would probably give it, from a technical aspect and the way that it was made, I would definitely give it like an A. But as far as like an overall movie, and as far as like rewatchability goes, because that's a big part, and there's many Paul Thomas Anderson movies that I can rewatch a lot, I would give this like a solid B. As far as like everything goes. Great movie. Definitely recommend checking it out. But the story at times was a little bit flimsy in compared to like the visual filmmaking and the performances. I just like movies about porn stars and dudes finding oil in the late 1800s, I guess, a little bit more. So, all right. So those are my thoughts on the movie. Let me know yours down below. A Logo Face says, oh, we'll talk about that later. Dustin Rich says, DiCaprio's performance in Django was mostly cringe and yelling. See, I disagree. I think his performance as Calvin Candy in Django was top notch. I was glued to the screen, especially the one sequence where he smashes his hand down on the skull on the table and actually cuts his hand open and his hand's gushing blood, but he keeps going with the scene. I respect shit like that. So, all right, let's go to the next one here. You guys are asking a lot of questions in the normal chat. If you could keep the questions to like the topic, I'll probably be more enticed to talk about them. Until we get into the randomness later in a second. But I think the randomness has arrived. I think we can finally talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Dustin Rich says, do you think Stuckmann has potential or should he stick to his day job? When it comes to my critiques of the way he like films and directs stuff, I always just felt like he has a good eye for something, but I don't necessarily think it's the most original thing ever. It's a very derivative. That's something I've always noticed about when he makes certain things. And I think, I don't know. It just feels like with his new movie, it just feels like, well, I've seen all these things, but you rearranged it and I get where you were coming from. But it just sort of feels like I've seen these things somewhere else. And I was hoping for something a little more like from the heart, something. And I know where he was coming from when I say something like that. I know like there's probably a personal connection he had in this movie with his own story and his own life. But I don't know if that was necessarily perfectly represented throughout the film. But I think he does have a future directing. I just think he should stray away from like writing and focus more on directing. I just don't think writing is the strong suit. I really don't. John, is it worth seeing in IMAX? If you're a fan of film, I definitely think One Battle After Another would be worthy of seeing in IMAX. Or definitely on like a film presentation of it that's not digital, but everything's digital nowadays at the theater. So, Logo Face, do you think Marvel is gonna fumble Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, like making an evil Tony Stark variant? I really hope they don't just make Tony Stark, but his evil cousin as Dr. Doom. I do not want to see that. I hope he just embodies Victor Von Doom as the character should be. And maybe that can be a slight Tony Stark in the multiverse somehow, some way, but I don't want it to just feel like Tony Stark, with quick-witted one-liners, So that's what I'm hoping. All right, let's go to the next one here. Dustin Rich says, I heard James Gunn has talked to Stuckmann about directing a Swamp Thing movie. Am I lying? I have no clue. Do not know. Could not tell you. That would be interesting, though. Taco says, John, you still hit the gym? I hit the gym just the other day, man. Look at these amazing biceps. You can see the vascularity right there if you look close enough. Yeah, I'm hitting the gym occasionally. I just, the older I get, the more I can eat a bag of Sour Patch Kids and my ass jiggles for a week. It's just crazy. I remember years ago when I was working out, I would work out all the time, try to put on weight, and it was like an impossibility. Now, if I just think about, I don't know, caramel ice cream bars, I gain 3 pounds when I'm sleeping. All right, let's answer a few more questions over here. Dustin Rich says, I feel every time Leonardo DiCaprio stars in a movie, the movie automatically loses at least 1 point in my score. I still have no idea how he became a star. Really? You don't like Leo? I like me some Leo. I do. I like to think if I was an actor, I feel like I would do what Leo does. He kind of squints every time he's being serious a little bit. But between Leo and DiCaprio and Gyllenhaal, I think those are my 3 favorite actors working today. Murph says, will you do a new gym vlog? I always enjoyed those. Probably not. It's hard enough to be consistent on YouTube, let alone do gym vlogs. All right, let's dive into some of your questions you guys asked earlier. And if you guys do ask a super chat or Streamlabs question, which the link is down below, don't give YouTube your money. They take a cut. They have enough money, okay? That billion-dollar corporation, or should I say trillion-dollar corporation, don't let them take a cut. Use the link down below in the description to Streamlabs. But anyway, anything and everything is appreciated, so thank you guys. All right, let's go into the first question here. And the first one comes from Goat Yandro, who says, one battle after another was a breath of fresh air. I didn't think it was perfect, but I felt like the original movie, the ones we complain about, don't get enough nowadays. Also, what are your thoughts on Shelby Oaks? Still crazy that Chris has a theater movie. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. No, like I said, I think one battle after another, it's an original movie. Please give me more of them. Even though I didn't necessarily love everything about it, I wasn't angry that I went to see the movie and watch it. And like I said, I gave it a solid B. Recommend checking it out. I think definitely some people will enjoy it more than others, but I think if you liked films, you'll definitely appreciate the way that it's made, like most Paul Thomas Anderson movies, where they just feel like a real film. It feels like a classic telling of a story, even if you don't necessarily love every aspect of the story. So, but thanks for the question, man. Lee B. Film says, delete one movie universe forever. MCU X-Men, Spider-Verse, and Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Ooh, that's a tough question. This might be a very unpopular opinion. This might be very unpopular, but I think I'm going to stand by it. I really am. And I know people love it. But I think I could delete Into the Spider-Verse. I really do. I like both movies. I think they're awesome, like Spider-Man movies. Some people love the animation style, and I like it. I would say I almost respect it. But it's not necessarily like my favorite visual animation style, the juddery, very choppy look of it. I think the stories are good. I think the scores are phenomenal. I think that telling of Miles Morales is top-notch. But I much prefer and go back and rewatch like the X-Men movies. When it comes to the X-Men movies, you have so many, though. You got some shitty ones. Let's all be honest with ourselves first and foremost, right? The first X-Men movie really paved the way for comic book movies. I think without that movie in 2000, I don't think the comic book genre movies would have blasted off like it did. And I would say the same thing about the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie back in 2001. I think those both catapulted comic book movies where they are today. But when it comes to X-Men movies, right, the second one, X-Men X2, phenomenal. X-Men 3, kind of sucked. Oh, the Juggernaut, bitch! Sort of a guilty pleasure at times. But then you had like X-Men Days of Future Past, which I might just say like that X-Men First Class are like my two favorite X-Men movies in live action that exist. So I can't give those up. And then when it comes to the Spider-Man trilogy, and we're just talking about are we talking about Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland? I think the Tobey Maguire trilogy alone would be enough. Even though I absolutely despise and hate it with a passion, Spider-Man 3, and it was one of the worst theater experiences I've ever had to go through in my entire life, I still think those movies, I need those to exist in the zeitgeist. I really do. And when it comes to the Tom Holland ones, they're fine. I think Spider-Man No Way Home is probably by far and away my favorite. But yeah, I think I'd have to give up Into the Spider-Verse. I know, maybe that's unpopular, but that's only 2 movies. I'm talking about other franchises that have like 6, 7 movies. So, and with all of that said, I can't just sum up that question leaving you guys hanging. If you've been watching for a while now, you probably already know this, but I'm going to tell you once more. I got to share my theater experience when I did in fact watch Spider-Man 3 in theaters back in 2007. I remember the day very vividly. It was a very sultry, moist, hot day, and I went to see it at the theater with a couple friends. And keep in mind, it was so hot outside and the theater was so packed with people that you could literally feel their body heat and their breath resonating into your soul. And you could smell popcorn and body odor. But most importantly, I could smell the breath of the troglodyte behind me who chewed with his mouth open for 3 hours. And not only could I hear Spider-Man swinging through the streets of New York, but I could also hear for 3 hours. And keep in mind, people were saying, please shut the fuck up. People were saying, shh. He didn't think they were talking to him. So, or maybe he had some oral issues where he just couldn't breathe out of his nose. I'm not quite sure. But with all that said, when you factor that in to the movie being sort of a big letdown that just overstayed its welcome, and you had to look at Topher Grace, my spider senses are tingling, if you know what I mean. Play a shitty version of Venom, probably the shittiest version we'll ever see. Well, that culminated into one big letdown experience. So there's that. Now let's go to the next question. All right, the next one comes from... No, you guys are killing it. Okay, let's talk a little quicker. Kieran Healy, thanks for the super chat there. No question, though, but thanks, man. Sal says, hey, John, thoughts on the new Avatar 3 trailer? I thought it was excellent. Are you talking, is there a brand new trailer that came out today that I'm unaware of, or are you talking about the teaser trailer that we got like a month or two ago? Because if there is a new teaser, I have not seen that yet. Please, someone in the chat, let me know if that's brand new, and I will talk about it. But as far as that teaser went a couple months ago, it kind of looks like what I expected it to. The fire people, I can only assume at some point they see the ways of the Na'vi and they join forces to take down the antagonist of the story, which is the evil humans who want to pollute who want to pollute Pandora. But I'm hoping by the end of this next film that we do finally start going to Earth, because I want to see a dystopian, futuristic Earth setting a bit more. And if you go back to the original Avatar film, there are some deleted scenes that take place on Earth, and I wish those were in the final movie, but I thought it looked fine. I'm a huge fan of Avatar. I will say, I hope the story does get a little bit better with the sequels, because it's getting to the point where it's going to be hard to justify like 2 more movies on top of this next movie. It's like, do you need 2 more to wrap up this story, or are you just dragging it out, James Cameron? You just have a weird fetish with 9-foot-tall blue alien people? Because if you say so, I get where you're coming from. Hey, we all got our kinks. But anyway, I love them visually. They're just fun to go to. They're pure escapism where you just go click, your brain shuts off, and you're like, this is fun to look at. Oh, it's a brand new trailer? Okay. Hey, you want me to watch the trailer with you guys? You want to watch the trailer? Let's watch the trailer. But first, before I watch the trailer and before I forget, I'm going to do a giveaway because last week on the live stream, I promised you guys I was doing a giveaway. I said I'm going to have one lucky someone win Megan 2.0. I don't know how lucky you're going to be to win this. And then somebody else will win 28 Years Later, which is by far the better film on 4K Blu-ray. So what I'm going to do is I'm randomly going to pick two winners by just scrolling through the comments on the last live stream, like I asked you guys to do. And then if you guys do get chosen as the winner, the chosen one, if you could email me at johnflickchannel@gmail.com, that address is down below in the description. Email me your address and send me a screenshot of like your Google username just to prove it's you. And I'll send those out to you guys. Okay. So let's pick a winner here. And here we are. Here's the comments right there. We got all kinds of comments. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to go up and down, back and forth until I make somebody happy. Some lucky someone. All right. And hopefully I land on a comment that's the right one. Okay. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to randomly put the cursor on the winner. So you guys ready for this? Okay, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go up a little bit. I'm going to go over. And wherever this cursor is the winner. Okay, let's move the cursor somewhere else. Okay, that's the winner. Okay, I'm right here on this comment here. So we got what the fuck? What is your name? Matic Valentan? Matic Valentan is the winner. Why I want one of these Blu-rays, I don't know. I guess it would be kind of cool for one of these Blu-rays to get here to Slovenia. Oh man, now I got to do international shipping. Okay, whatever, I'll do it, man. So send me your shipping address, and I'll mail one of these movies out to you. And then let's pick another winner here. And the next winner, let's go up, let's go down, let's go up. Okay, whoever this is right here. Okay, it's nobody but my stupid face. Really got to find another routine for doing this. All right, let's... Okay, whatever this is right here, let's do this. My eyes are blurry. Okay. It was Isaac Kumanez 742. You guys know I can't read. I want 28 years later to look at the Alpha's giant hog on my 65-inch OLED TV. And you know what? That's probably the best reason you could have gave me, to look at a giant zombie's dingle-dingle on your beautiful OLED TV. Glorious. High definition at its finest. I hope you freeze frame it and have a good time with it. So I'll send you 28 years later, and the other guy, I'm going to send you Megan 2.0. So email me at the email address down below, and I will send those out to you. And thank you guys so much for joining, and we will do more giveaways in the future. So thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, I might just buy the movie on Amazon and ship it to them to save on shipping cost. We'll see, man. Or maybe I can just PayPal you some money and you can buy whatever the fuck you want. How's that? All right, we'll figure it out. All right, let's go to the next question here. And the next question comes from Here we go. Oh, actually, did you guys want to watch the Avatar trailer together? Yeah? Avatar trailer time? Okay, let's watch it. Here we go. Avatar new trailer. Which new trailer are you talking about? These all say they were 5 days ago. Was there a new trailer that came out 5 days? No one has talked about this. Let me see if this is the trailer. It's 5 days old, so it's not really that topical, is it? Now I don't care as much. Let me just skim through it. This almost looks fake. This looks like someone just took clips from the previous two Avatar films. Oh no, this is new. Okay, this looks kind of new. Okay, I'll skim through it with you guys just to give you kind of a general overview of what we're looking at here. Okay, we got the fire people here looking all crazy. And I guess they summon volcanoes to blow. That's cool. Nice little visual there. I gotta play it in increments because, you know, copyrights and everything. How do you guys feel about Sigourney Weaver trying to play like a 15-year-old girl with that very old voice that they try to like digitize to sound slightly younger, but it just sounds like Sigourney Weaver, who's like a 60-year-old lady. I don't know if that works for me. It just has not worked for me. That's a cool visual. I like that. Oh, they're blowing up a giant bubble or something. That's cool. I think it's crazy that this came out 5 days ago and I didn't even know it came out. I don't know if that's a testament to just like people simply don't care as much as they used to about this movie. Or if it just isn't really showing anything that new. I mean, it looks stunning visually, but it just looks like a culmination of clips from previous movies. Like, oh, there's more battles in the sky with human tech and dragons. Yeah, I don't know. What's the music? I want to hear what this music sounds like. Hang on. The standard Avatar score. Okay. Yeah, Avatar Fire and Ash. I don't know. It kind of looks like the same shit we've seen before. But I'm still looking forward to the movie. Those are my quick thoughts on the trailer. All right. A lot of people are saying it looks terrible. Biggest problem with the last one, don't work for me, brother. It's laughably bad. Can we watch the Black Phone 2 trailer? I've already seen that. Scroll back if you want to see the winners of the giveaway. Just scroll back. I announce them. Yeah, man. So, yeah. I don't know. I definitely want to watch the movie, but that trailer didn't do anything for me. All right, let's go to the next question here. And the next one comes from... Ooh, let's scroll up a little bit. Here we go. Libby Film says, if you wrote a superhero movie, who would you choose to direct? Zack Snyder, James Gunn, Sam Raimi, or the Russo brothers? Ooh, man. That is a tough question because ultimately... Probably none of them. Hang on. If I directed a superhero movie, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, one dude I would like to direct it would be Joseph Kosinski, who directed like Top Gun Maverick or F1. I just like the way he visually shoots movies for action. But if I had to pick between those directors, the Russo brothers, there's something about the way that they film things where they try to do this like handheld style that just doesn't quite work for me ever. Sam Raimi, I think, would visually be the most interesting. There's James Gunn. I've never been in love with James Gunn's visuals. I think he makes a fine looking movie. But Zack Snyder can be hit or miss. You know, it depends on what we're talking about when it comes to Zack Snyder. Which movie, which tone are we going for here? I'd probably have the most faith in like James Gunn or Sam Raimi with that. I would. But the Russos can tell a competent story. You know, they don't try to do too much. Their directing style doesn't get in the way of the story, is what I'm saying. So, but it also looks very like Marvel-ish. It looks very standard with the way they shoot things. So can I pick none? All right. Night King 01 says, John, do you know about the new movie Deathstalker? It comes out October 10th. It's a remake / reboot of the 1980s sword and sorcery epic I'm actually really excited for it because it looks like a good old-fashioned B movie, fun in a tongue-in-cheek way. I know nothing about this movie. What is this called? Deathstalker? Deathstalker. Let's check it out. Okay, I'm looking at the 1983 movie there. That's definitely not it. Oh, maybe this is the movie. Oh shit. It looks like a dark fantasy movie from the 80s. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. Yeah, it definitely has like a dark fantasy vibe to it. It almost looks like it almost looks like Willow or something. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check into it. Okay, yeah. Looks cool. I'm interested. All right, the next one comes from Goat Yandro, who says, one battle after another. Did we already answer this? We answered this already, sorry. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, fall is here. What is your ultimate comfort rewatch movie? That's a great question. I think the quintessential Halloween October movie you have to watch is Hocus Pocus. I think you have to at least watch that once. That is a fundamental for me. That just gives me that childhood nostalgia. It's enjoyable. It's good background noise no matter what you're doing. You definitely want to have some pumpkin spice with it and watch the leaves trickle down outside, you know? So I'm going to go with Hocus Pocus. I have to go with that one. Come, little children, and I will take thee away into a land of I love it. And as a kid, as a little dude watching that movie back in like 1993, I always had a crush on Sarah Jessica Parker in that movie. I was like, if she wanted to abduct me and tie me to a chair and make me drink a potion, I probably would do it. The name's Ice. Hey, Hollywood. I love it, man. So I'm going to go with Hocus Pocus. But the other quintessential movie, beside that, as far as like a slasher movie goes, is I have to watch the original Halloween. I have to watch the original Halloween at least once during October. So, and I've been waiting and savoring October to hurry up and get here so I can watch this shit. So those are definitely two movies I'm going to watch. And that's my question for you guys if you're watching right now. What is your ultimate go-to comfort movie for the Halloween season? Let me know that down below. Dustin Rich says, Dark Stalker was my nickname in high school, minus the dark part. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Don't get too many restraining orders. All right. F1 is great if you're a conservative dad in the 60s. Yeah, F1's the ultimate dad movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. Logo Face says The Lost Boys for sure. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that. My wife has never seen The Lost Boys, and I was trying to describe who the saxophone man was to her. I'm like, he's a giant, jacked up, oily dude who plays the saxophone, and it's iconic. You'll love it. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, you'll love it. Watch it. Plus, you get to look at Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, so I can't wait to check it out. And have you guys noticed the new trend and style in society these days? Like every dude I see at the gym that's ages like 15 to 20, they all look like they belong in the Lost Boys. They all have like curly hair and like a mullet and like an earring dingling out of one of their ears. They all look like Billy from Stranger Things. Isn't that weird how that fad came back into play? I'm like, what is this? All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from, I can't see the questions. Let's move these over. Ooh, that's better. I like that. Okay, here we go. The next one comes from the 50% Doctor Who podcast, who says, thoughts on the Simpsons movie 2 announcement. I didn't know they were announcing that. When it comes to The Simpsons, I probably have not watched that in a good 10 to 15 years. And oddly enough, I've never met or talked to anyone who have watched The Simpsons in the last 10 to 15 years. But yet, it keeps airing on a weekly episodic basis. And it's just like, I don't know anyone who watches this. There's got to be a conspiracy theory there why it exists. I'm not quite sure. Will I watch a Simpsons 2 movie? Absolutely. Did I love the first one? It was okay. I just remember they live in a giant bubble, and that was the plot. That's all I can remember about the Simpsons movie. But I love the Simpsons video game. The arcade video game, The Simpsons. Oh, I used to play that shit all the time. I used to have the arcade 1-up cabinet for it until I ran out of space and had to sell it. So anyway, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, hard to believe that Breaking Bad finale was released 12 years ago today. It sure is timeless. Do you remember your reaction back then? I do remember that. And I remember I lived in my first house that had a basement, and my good friend would come over and we would watch Breaking Bad every week with the commercials. And I remember thinking that was sort of like a logical, fulfilling way to end the series. I like that Walter White didn't necessarily win. It wasn't a happy ending. It was very bittersweet. And ultimately, selling methamphetamine never ends well. So I liked that. But I liked that I liked the ending episode where he makes like the machine gun. He sciences the shit out of that to save Jesse. And Jesse takes off, leading into the spin-off movie El Camino. Yeah, I thought it was a fine conclusion to the series, and for me, Breaking Bad's probably one of my favorite series that has ever existed, and probably will ever exist. Jesse, you must be very precise. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. What don't you understand? Yo, Mr. White. All right, let's go to the next one. The next one here is... here we go. Skylar Wheelock says, did you hear about the Clayface movie? It has a lot of old practical effects and is taking inspiration from The Fly. Yes, that excites me very much. And the fact that they're going to... So first of all, we talked about this in the last live show. And I said, I just want a good body dysmorphia movie that sort of maybe has vibes of something like a character study movie meets The Substance, which was very much a body dysmorphia movie. And I think if you combine both of those elements, top notch. Can't wait to see it. I just can't wait for that scene where you see like his face falling off and he's all decrepit, and it's just like, it makes you feel... I want a Clayface movie that you cannot eat when you watch. And I think that would be the testament to that movie. I think that'll... If I can't eat when I watch the Clayface movie because it's so disgusting, it's almost like Silence of the Lambs, where you have Buffalo Bill like chopping people's skin off and making lampshades out of nipples, but in this case, like making a new face for himself. I think if you get to the level of grossness that it can be and should be, that is what I want to see. I want something that just makes my skin crawl when I watch it. So I did hear about that. I think I did see like a paparazzi behind the scenes photo of something from it. I didn't pay too much close attention to it. But it looks, I'm definitely intrigued, to say the least. All right. Oh, we got one here from Trevor Wynn. How's it going, Trevor? And you guys know every super chat over $10 gets a party popper. 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. So thank you, Trevor Wynn. Here's the question. Hey, John. For me, one battle after another blended the comedy and suspense a little too much, especially with Sean Penn's character. I thought Leo and Benicio were great comedic reliefs, but I wanted Penn to be more menacing. Yeah, I definitely pick up what you're putting down. For me, I thought his character, Sean Penn's character, Colonel Lockjaw or whatever, he's basically like this muscular dude who works for like the military. And he's sort of playing both sides to a certain degree. He's definitely corrupt, but he's also like a straight-laced dude who wants to be part of the club. And I definitely get what you're saying there. And he was very comedic at times, but I think that was the approach of the movie. And that's what I was saying earlier when I talked about it was I definitely didn't understand where who his character was until like the second act of the movie when I got acclimated to the tone of the movie. But I do think he was menacing, but I think there was some nuance to his character. And I think by the end of the film, I was like, it could have went either way, but it just definitely, I don't know. It kind of goes the way I predicted it to go. I was hoping for maybe more of a twist or a turn with his character. But I thought his character was a good antagonist. But I definitely get what you're saying. But I think the movie being a satire, that was the weird mix of comedy with like seriousness. And that's what I was talking about. Like it took me like an hour of the movie to like figure out what they were going for at times, because I was like, is he trying to be funny, or like, is this supposed to be a joke? And I'm not a troglodyte. I can pick up on nuance and comedy, but it definitely took a minute to figure out what the tone of that movie was supposed to be. But yeah, I think there was definitely room for his character, because they want you to believe that he is this like sadistic dude who will do whatever it takes. But when it comes to like doing whatever it takes, it feels like he sort of like pulls his punches a little bit. So he's a bit conflicted. We'll leave it there. And that's fine. That makes a good character. A great character is the flawed character who's a bit conflicted on both sides. You know, he's not pure evil, though he's mostly evil, but there's a little bit in him that he can't quite pull the trigger when he needs to, you know? So are you picking up what I'm putting down, or am I just rambling on at this point? Was it like an action movie from the 90s? Are you talking about one battle after another? I would say it's almost, I wouldn't say it's like an action movie from the 90s. No, I definitely think it might remind me of maybe a movie or two from the 90s, but for me, it was more like Hitchcockian. It was almost like a movie from like the 70s. For me, I would say if I had to like pick a time period for it. All right, let's go to the next one here. The next question comes from Clark Ingleton. Hey, Clark, how's it going? Why does OBAA, One Battle After Another, remind you of Star Wars? Is it Sean Penn's lightsaber in the beginning, if you know what I mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. No, it's not that. It goes back to like the classic Shakespearean / Hamlet story narrative, like almost a tragedy that involves a family, and you get the twist. That's what reminds me of that. But I don't want to spoil anything. But if you can pick up what I'm putting down, let me know. If you've seen the movie, think about like kind of like one of the twists with one of the characters. That's what reminds me of Star Wars. All right, let's go to the next one here. But also his boner, yes, remind me of Star Wars very much, yes. Wilson says, hey, John, thoughts on the brand new day leaks? Other than seeing all of the leaks, where you saw the shots, the car chase scene through the streets of Glasgow? I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, I saw those. I don't know about the other leaks. I couldn't tell you. I try not to watch too many like paparazzi footage of movie set stuff. I just don't want to be spoiled unless it's like publicly released or it's something like fundamental that you can't miss when you're on social media scrolling. I usually don't pay too much attention to it. Movies Are Life says, Oscar's Best Picture pick, One Battle so far for me. Yeah, I definitely put One Battle in there. Best Oscar movies this year. Oh, man. Oh, that's not what we want. Come on. Why is everything from 2024? Well, I know someone's probably going to put Sinners in there. This is all shit that's old. I don't even remember what came out this year off the top of my head, man. I don't even know what my favorite movies of the year are right now. I'd have to go do some soul searching right now. But there's been very few movies this year that I've absolutely loved that completely moved me and I found super riveting. There's a lot of movies I liked, but there's not a lot of movies I'm like, oh, I need to go back and rewatch that over and over again. But I am looking forward to Smashing Machine, which comes out in a few days. I already got my tickets for that, so I don't know. That's a great question for you guys. What are some movies coming out? What are some movies in 2025 that you would say might get nominated for Best Picture of the Year? Let me know that down below. Glasgow. Yeah, there it is. Glasgow. There we go. I'm sorry. I don't live in Scotland, okay? I'm a stupid American. Just let me say stupid shit. Logo Face says, do you think the general public has an odd idolization of real-life serial killers? Oh, we're fascinated by them. And I'll tell you why we're fascinated by them, because we fear them. They live amongst us. It's everyone's biggest fear, especially women. There's some kind of weird... women are, and I don't want to just like, pick a gender here, but I find most women are like fascinated by true crime, and especially serial killers, because it's terrifying to them. But by watching it and exposing yourself to it, for some reason, it's just like therapeutic. So yeah, I get it. And hey, I have weird obsessions with serial killers. I assume every creepy old dude I see in a parking lot, or every guy walking through a park with children about, I just assume they are serial killers. Ever since I was young and I watched Silence of the Lambs for the first time, and I saw Buffalo Bill trying to load a couch into the back of his creepy ass van. Hey, can you help me with this? No, flip it around. Hey, boss, by the way, what size are you? Like, I've never trusted strangers. I don't get close to them. I stay away from them. I just assume they're serial killers. That guy definitely has someone in a basement, in a well, and he's going to cut off their skin. I just assume that about everyone. And I think when you do that, it's a nice defense mechanism. Keep yourself safe. But anyway, what was the question again? Yes, serial killers. I think society has a weird obsession with serial killers. It speaks to our innermost fear. All right. And for me, you know what it is? Nowadays, when it comes to like horror films, supernatural shit does not scare me, whatever. I'm like, okay, if ghosts exist and they want to haunt me and possess me, and someone needs to have an exorcism and my head spins around and I spit out blood and I tell you that your mother sucks cocks in hell, like, okay, I can live with that. Haunt me, possess me, do whatever you want. Most unlikely not going to happen, right? But when it comes to serial killers and dudes who can just break in your house when you're sleeping and tie you up and torture you, well, that exists. That can happen. And to me, when it comes to like horror films, that is like what I prefer these days. I like psychological, twisted thrillers that could actually exist in reality. I think that is much more terrifying than the creepy ghost who lurks in the shadows that picks you up and possesses you. Am I the only one? Let me know down below. Dylan French says, apparently Critical Drinker has a review for One Battle. This movie's a political satire that doesn't do it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious to watch it. Here we go. All right, you guys are saying Warfare might be one of them. Yeah, Warfare was good. You know, it depends on what else comes out this year. Could I throw Warfare in the top 10 of the year? Maybe. I quite enjoyed the experience. I think Warfare is like very visceral and put you right in the action and was a good movie to watch. It definitely has zero rewatchability for me. But could I put it in the top 10? Probably. Final Reckoning had some fun scenes. I was not a big fan of that movie. John, was WrestlePalooza a letdown for you? I'm glad you asked about that because I want to talk all about WrestlePalooza. Now, if you guys didn't know, just hang on for a few seconds. If I wasn't talking about movies on the internet, I would probably be talking about pro wrestling because I truly love it. It's the one thing throughout the week that keeps me going because it just has this childhood nostalgic attachment that I have. It's athleticism, it's spectacle, it's production, it's chaotic, it's violent, but I love when all these things come together into a solid show. And for me, it's like live action stage play. If you like movies, I think if you ever take the time to sit down and watch pro wrestling and get really invested in it, because if you just watch 5 seconds of it, you're probably going to be like, oh, that's stupid. But you could say that about any movie. If you watch 5 seconds of any movie out of context, you'd probably be like, oh, that was stupid. But if you watch it from start to end, you might get something out of it. So anyway, I did go to WrestlePalooza, which was in Indianapolis last week, and I bought decent tickets, which cost an arm and a leg, and I literally sold both my testicles to see this show. I didn't want to tell you guys that, but I did. I'm just kidding. I only sold a kidney. That's a lie too. I did sell my left pinky toe, and you guys can't prove or disprove that, okay? Unless I start doing feet videos on my OnlyFans, maybe one day. But let's talk about WrestlePalooza. I had to see this show because it was only a few hours away. I live in Indiana, and one of the main matches was John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. I've never seen Brock Lesnar live. Say what you will about him and the controversy that surrounds Brock Lesnar, but the dude in person looks bigger than he does on TV. He just looks massive. And plus, I really enjoyed the opening to the show. There was this really cool video package that opened up the show with pyrotechnics throughout the video package. So when you're watching it in the arena, like every time they would show like a slam during the video package, hyping it up, they're like a different pyrotechnic would go off in the arena, and it was really immersive. It was pretty awesome. But the coolest thing about this show, now I do have a lot of complaints and criticisms, and I'll get there. But one of the coolest things about this show was this right here. Who's that guy right there? And also, who's that lady beside him? That's my wife. That's me. I'm the douchebag in the yellow John Cena shirt. And that is the Usos there. That's Jay and Jimmy Uso, who, when they do their entrance, come down through the crowd. Now, I'm a nerd. I knew exactly where they would be coming from. And I did try to get seats right there beside them. And I did. So I succeeded in that. So it was pretty awesome. Let me show you guys this right here. I'll play the quick video that with you guys. So really cool. That was probably one of the highlights of the show. I will say, like, the first match with John Cena, Brock Lesnar was very abrupt, and I kind of assumed it would go that way. It was like 8 minutes. I was hoping for more. I did like the CM Punk AJ Lee match. I thought that was pretty good. At one point, the dude in the if you don't watch pro wrestling, this dude right here walking down, at one point, he went to hit someone in the back with a chair, and the chair popped up and like split his forehead open, and you saw blood just go. And the referee was covered in blood. You could see it from the stands. Like, I saw like blood squirt from his forehead. That was pretty intense. The main event was sort of lackluster. I think my biggest complaint with the entire show was they promised big surprises because this was the first premium live event to hit ESPN. And keep in mind, this shit ain't free. It costs like $30 a month unless you have a VPN. And they promised big surprises. And you didn't really get any shocking big surprises. You got a very well-produced show. It looked great. There was a few good matches on it. But overall, there was no big twists or turns. And I think that was the detriment to the show. I think if it was like any other show, like, hey, this is just another premium live event for the month of September, I think it was fine. But, you know, I don't regret going to see it because there's just something about watching pro wrestling live that at times it feels slower than it does on TV, but at other times, when you watch it live, it looks a bit more clunky than it does on TV because you don't get all of the perfect angles or get the commentary to sort of help propel what's happening. But when you're watching it live, it almost looks more dangerous than it does when you watch it on TV. There's almost like a different element in the atmosphere watching it live where you're just like, ooh, this does feel dangerous. It does feel like he could just fall and snap his neck at any second. So there's like a different element watching it live. And it's just, I love it. I think it's very immersive live. And I'm sort of a nerd when it comes to like the production quality of things, especially shows like that with lighting and pyrotechnics. So I had a good time, but sort of an overall forgettable show. But it was cool seeing Brock Lesnar live. All right, those are my thoughts on WrestlePalooza. And as far as the name goes, a lot of people hate it. I don't necessarily hate the name WrestlePalooza. I kind of like it. All right, let's go to the next one here. Yeah, just get the VPN. Yeah, the thing about the VPN, it's such a hassle. You got to log into shit. It just doesn't quite look perfect, and you have to use it on your laptop, and it's just, I don't know. All right. Dustin Rich says, so the guy who won't finish The Penguin or X-Men 97 says you shouldn't judge wrestling after only watching it a little bit. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. Probably, yeah. Yes. Listen, how many people got hit in the head with a chair in the show The Penguin? Okay? 0. All right. The next one comes from Logo Face, who says, do you think TKO and Triple H are taking WWE down a bad path, especially having WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia? Well, yes and no. I think you're pricing out fans, and when you start pricing out your core demo of anything, you get less excited about watching the episodic weekly shows. If in the back of your mind you go, oh man, I can't afford to ever go to one of their shows, so like I don't have as much interest in watching the weekly show anymore because I know I can never like see it live. It just takes down your excitement level for it a little bit. You know, it's like it would be hard to get excited about, and it's getting to that point. But the best connection I can make to this is like, I love movies. I absolutely love movies. But if movie tickets were $90 a pop and give it like 2 years with inflation, they'll probably be there and popcorn's already there. I definitely would not be as excited about watching movies or going to the theater because you've priced people out of it. So in that sense, yes. But understand, when they go to Saudi Arabia, they gave them like $350 million. So sometimes it's hard to say no, right? But yeah, I think they're pricing out fans. And eventually it will catch up to them. All right. Let's go to the next one here. And the next one, I'll start talking a little faster. Lucas Bernowskowitz says, Superman 2025 or Man of Steel? Probably Man of Steel, man. I think it has more rewatchability to it. I think the score is more gripping. I think it's more moving. I like Henry Cavill as Superman more than David Cornsweet. And if you're asking me to pick one, I think Man of Steel. I just like that movie more. But I don't hate the new Superman movie. I don't. It didn't really resonate with me that much. And I guess that's my biggest complaint. You know, I think there were some good ideas, but I also think there's a lot of like bad ideas where when it comes to James Gunn, I think if he's left unchecked and he has full creative control to do whatever he wants, that sometimes he gets a little indulgent. You know, sometimes I don't want to see crazy monkeys typing on social media. It's like, haha, I get the gag, but that it's just stupid. That's stupid. That's a dumb comedic joke that doesn't do anything for anyone watching it. And it takes you out of the movie. It's like, it's too zany and too wacky. So yeah, I'm going to go with Man of Steel. And I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I think it's a good Superman movie. I do. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Claudio Rogajon, who says, if you think Spider-Man 3 was bloated, John, there was an entire subplot cut out of Sandman and his doctor that he goes to try to cure him. Also, more scenes with his family. Also, Eddie had more scenes, which I think would have helped his character. You know, I don't think there was anything they could have done to help Eddie Brock as Venom because he still looks like Topher Grace, and Venom still looked like Venom, and his performance was still the same. No matter how much backstory and how much character development you gave it, the scenes that we got would still be in the movie, and those are not good. But I think the Sandman would have, I think having more backstory with him actually would have made me care. It's like, I know who the Sandman from the comics is, and I know in the movie that they do try to connect some dots, and here's his daughter, you're supposed to feel sorry for him, but he just felt like the most generic guy who fell into a pit of sand, and now he's the Sandman, and he's robbing a bank, and it's just like, okay. Will H says, John, how many copies of Triple X do you think are now at Mega Replay? I would safely assume like 7,771 copies of Triple X exhume at Mega Replay. And I've wanted to ask them this question many of times. At what point do you just make these free? Like if you come into the store, you get a free copy of Triple X. And my thing is, you could probably safely for the next 7 years of people who come through the doors of that store, you could give away a free copy to everyone for like the next 7 to 10 years. Easily. And you could say it's not a copy of Triple X. It's not a DVD. No. It's a coaster that you put on your coffee table that you put your drink on when you watch a better movie at home. So yeah, I'd go with that. But they're still collecting dust. There's probably like an inch of dust on all of those copies of Triple X. Okay, the next one comes from let's see. Dustin Rich says, do you think James Gunn is going the way of Taika Waititi and people will turn on him if he keeps making every movie silly? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think the self-indulgence gets to a point where it's like, if you want to make a slapstick comedy, that's fine. Go do that shit. But let's not use our iconic characters to tell that story. We don't need Thor like in a slapstick Dumb and Dumber movie. All right. Just like I don't want to see Superman in the same kind of tone of movie. So I am hoping he pulls it back a little bit. It would be nice to see like some serious scenes that make you feel something when you watch them. Laughing Stock Media says, I live for this shit. Well, me too, man. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next question comes from... Here we go. Quintrell, who says, hey, John, do you think Tron Ares will be good? No. Anyway, I thought Tron Legacy was the coolest thing ever as a kid and still do, but the new film looks like a bad Tubi original. Yeah, it kind of does. It just looks like a movie made for Netflix using the IP of Tron. And the thing about Tron is when it comes to the story, there's only so much you can explore with it. And the fact that, now keep in mind, listen, I'm kind of looking forward to watching the movie. I thought Tron Legacy was fun to look at. I think the first act of the movie is probably the best, and then it sort of deviates into something else where it's like, yeah, it's okay. But I thought the score was great. I think the visuals of Tron Legacy were great, and I think the visuals in this new Tron Ares look kind of cool, and I like that 9 Inch Nails is doing the score, which I think is kind of cool. It gives it kind of an edgy, grungier vibe. But the thing I don't like is the movie stars Jared Leto. And I don't necessarily need to see him in this movie. He is box office poison. And I don't know, out of everyone you could cast for this role, why you would do this. I don't know what they were thinking. This does not help your movie in any way. Jared Leto, don't get me wrong. He's been in some great movies and has given some great performances, but there's something about his new style of acting in movies where it just feels like he feels so artificial and disingenuous. You can just tell this like pretentiousness is oozing through his cheekbones. And I don't know, maybe he's taken too much Ozempic or something, or he sold his soul to Satan. I could not tell you what it is, but he doesn't do anything to make me want to watch this movie. And now he's like considered, like, I think the plot of this movie is he's like the prototype for a military version of a whatever. It's like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So I did buy tickets for the movie. I bought 3D tickets because I just thought if I'm going to watch this movie, at least watching it in 3D would be visually interesting. Someone said Jared needs to let it go. Yeah, man. It's baffling to me that he gets cast in these big IP movies. It's not a selling point at all. John says he does have some dark secret connections. Look it up. Not a good individual. Oh, I definitely think he sacrificed small children at some point. Okay. Dustin Rich says, have you heard the theory that Will Smith is actually the one in the Matrix trilogy? Once you realize it, you can see the movies in a totally different way. Interesting. Now, I know he originally turned down the role of Neo, but I haven't heard that theory, no. Oh, yeah, I have not forgotten about Jared Leto's portrayal of the Joker or Morbius. No, I have not. I've never forgotten about those things. All right, let's go to the next question. I think if Jared Leto's listening, I'm sorry, please. Please. All right. Trevor Witten says, oh, never mind. We answered that earlier, but once again, Trevor, thank you so much for the question earlier. All right. Skylar Wheelock, back at it, says, what is the first scary movie you remember sneaking to watch as a kid? You know, oddly enough, let me take a drink of my delicious caffeinated beverage. I have never really ever had to sneak around. What am I doing here? Yeah, I've never had to sneak around to watch any movie. My entire life, my parents were always pretty open to anything I wanted to watch. You know, now if it was like something a little bit, you know, if it was showtime after midnight, you know, I couldn't just flip that on the TV and watch it. I had to, like, you know, go into my room and I would lay clothes under the crack of the door so you couldn't see the glow of the TV late at night. And I would enjoy myself watching Skinamax as a young man. And sometimes I still occasionally do such things. But nevertheless, my parents never cared if I watched a horror film, if it was bloody, gruesome, or violent ever. I really don't. And I commend them for such liberation and freedom as a child to explore my artistic interest. And I appreciate that. And I think more kids should be allowed to watch the movies that they want to watch to a certain degree. Okay. But, you know, my earliest memories when it comes to like a horror film probably go to something like Nightmare on Elm Street. Those were movies that my entire family would get around and watch. That was like a movie night for us. Did it give me some horrific nightmares? Yes. Was I afraid to go into a basement until I was 23 years old? Absolutely. Did I keep a butter knife under my pillow at the tender age of 5 years old? Yes, just in case. You never know. But nevertheless, I think Nightmare on Elm Street might be one of the earliest horror films I remember like watching and immersing myself into. And plus, I remember playing the Nightmare. Let me find it here. There was like a really shitty there's a really shitty Nightmare on Elm Street NES game that I remember just like the music terrified me as a kid. It was on Nintendo. And there would be like these bats that fly around and it was super hard to beat. And at some points, Freddy would jump out. Here, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. It was this shit right here. Like he looked like one of the guys from Double Dragon just trying to beat up Freddy. Like, look at that. You could do like roundhouse kicks like you were Chuck Norris. It was pretty phenomenal. But yeah, I just remember this. Oh, there's Freddy right there jumping out of the boiler. Yeah, I just remember this game was like impossible to beat and scared the shit out of me when I played it as a kid. Anybody else ever play this? Let me know down below. Look at that giant spider right there. Blah. All right. So yeah, that's one of the earliest memories. Cosborn says, I remember my dad renting Stigmata when I was a little kid and asked him why the hell he thought I'd want to watch this. Why wouldn't you want to watch it, man? Never know when you'll need the butter knives. Dustin Rich says, I didn't say anything about Will Smith being the one, John. Agent Smith. Oh, sorry. Why did I put Will Smith in there? I'm sorry, man. Sometimes my brain makes connections that make no sense. But yes, so Agent Smith was actually the one. Okay, that's an interesting theory for the Matrix. I could see that. My theory on the Matrix is when it comes to Zion being sort of like the reality, the substrate of the Matrix, this is reality. This is where people actually exist. For me, Zion is just another layer in the Matrix. It goes deeper than that. The Matrix is smarter than that. You know how you make people comply in the Matrix? You make a place like Zion. Oh, this is the heart of humanity. This is where it really exists. No. You give them that false sense of hope, but really beyond that, the Matrix continues on and goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And anything that uses quantum computing would do such things. And then eventually, in about 100 years, we'll be there and we'll all live in the Matrix. That's if we're not already living in the Matrix right now. And really, when you think about it, it feels more likely that we are living in the Matrix than we're not. Like, you think this is real? You think we just became lucky bacteria to evolve in this giant rock in the void of space, flying around the universe? And it's just like, oh, okay, one day we made light bulbs and electricity, and here we are talking. You think I'm real? No. I'm a construct of your imagination. I only exist to you and no one else. It's interesting when you think about it. But let's keep going. But then again, if life is okay, do you really want to wake up and see what it's really like? And that's if we actually exist at all. Maybe we're just digital numbers inside of the Matrix. There is no reality. Let me take a sip of this, though. Oh. Okay, let's go to the next question. All right. The next one comes from Agent Smith. Mr. Flickinger, I'm at your front door right now. I'm just kidding. I made that up. The Dark Mike says, what are your top 5 movies so far this year? Also, are you going to Indiana Comic-Con next year? I didn't know there was an Indiana Comic-Con. Typically, I don't really go to those, and I'll tell you why. Unless I have something to do there, I probably won't go because I don't want to pay actors for like autographs unless there's like an actor I have to see and get a signed poster or something. That would be kind of cool. But when it comes to like Comic-Cons and stuff like that, like mostly you're just walking around looking at items that you can buy on the internet, and looking at people in cosplay. And like I've been to a handful of them, and I think it's kind of fun, but I don't know. It sort of wears off on me very quickly when I'm at those things. But my top 5 movies. My top 5 movies of 2025. It's been a weird year, man. There's a lot of movies I like, but very few I love. Like Weapons could be in the top 10. The Long Walk could potentially be my top 10. War of the Worlds starring Ice Cube will definitely not be my top 10. Together was pretty good. One Battle After Another might make it in my top 10. I'm hoping the year really closes off really strong because there's a couple movies coming out still that I hope make it. F1 might make it. It would probably make it my top 10. I thought that was easily an enjoyable movie. Jurassic World Rebirth will probably be my top worst movies of the year. There's that. I know there's some other movies I can't think of, like smaller movies I've watched that'll probably make it in there, but those are a few. Superman, I don't know if Superman's making it into the top 10 of the year. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. Let me see what else comes out this year. It could cling on to number 10. It might. I don't know. Favorite band at the moment, from Logo Face. Man, I don't really have a band right now that's like my favorite. I always have my go-tos. And sometimes when it comes to like Spotify, I just type like synthwave music and listen to whatever's on the playlist. I've been listening to a lot of Gunship lately. They kind of have a synthwave sound. They took a lot of inspiration from like the Lost Boys sort of vibe and tone of music. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, Which films released in the past 20 years will undergo a positive critical reevaluation like The Thing and Blade Runner, perhaps The Mist and Iron Legacy, or Tron Legacy? So you're saying movies that will kind of obtain a cult following at some point? Well, you know, the thing is, with no pun intended, mentioning The Thing, those movies came out at a time before social media and everyone could obtain information, or information was put in front of you where you could go, oh, this is a good movie because XYZ, you know? And you sort of had to discover these things. And once movies left a theater, well, you were at the mercy of watching it on VHS or on cable years later. Now everything comes to streaming. And I say this, and I've noticed it a lot. Whenever there's a movie that came out in like 1992 or something that I love or like, but younger people or younger generations don't know about it, which makes me sound so old, but I'm going to stick with it. Whenever that's on Netflix, I notice it's like that movie's in the top 10 most viewed on Netflix that week. And it's like people are discovering the movie for the first time because it was put in front of them. And I think that's kind of cool in a way. So when it comes to movies becoming like cult classics later on, like another movie that was a cult classic was like Dazed and Confused. Like it took years for that to become a cult classic, but it eventually did. So I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of something that would eventually like make its way there. And it's hard to say. Like I'll give you an example. Like I feel like if Nightcrawler was on Netflix again right now, a whole new demographic of people would watch it and be like, oh, that's a really good movie that don't even know it exists. So I don't know. Do you guys have a movie that would fit this? Like what is a movie that you think was made in the last year or two that no one really gave a shit about, but in a couple years or maybe 10 years, it's going to become beloved by people? Let me know. Cosborn says The Social Network should, even though it's not my top 5, it's a perfect movie. I think it has a loyal fan base of people that already like it. Logo Face says The Flash. Maybe. Maybe The Flash. I recall John being a Metallica fan and Metallica being a top 10 band for me. Oh, I love Metallica, man. But it's not like I love it, but I was trying to think of like new bands I've been listening to. Kids care more about YouTube and TikTok than movies. Oh, that's for sure, man. The attention, dude, here's the thing. If anything's longer than 4.5 milliseconds, you have to tie someone down to a chair to watch it and get immersed into it. People would rather watch a summary of a movie that lasts 20 seconds than the actual movie itself. And that to me is scary. That makes movies become more niche. And that's why you get bland, bloated movies that are very surface level that cater to everyone. That, hey, here's the new action movie of the week called Extraction. He fights some bad guys. What's the plot? And don't worry about it. Watch it. It's on Netflix. It's 90 minutes long, and you can watch it in the background. You don't even have to watch it. Just listen to it in the background as you scroll on TikTok for 90 minutes. But you don't really even finish the movie. You kind of turn it off before it's over, and then you watch a TikTok video about someone giving you a review of the movie that you don't really watch all that either. So that's what the film industry is slowly becoming. And that's not even being negative. I just think that's the honest, blunt truth, which makes me sad and makes me cry. But let's go to the next question, because that'll make me happy. And the next one comes from Michael Witherspoon, who says, "So glad you're back, John. Praying for you. Love you." Well, I love you too, man. Yeah, I definitely will never stop doing the live streams. I won't. I will not stop doing these. And I've said it once, I've said it before, I want to keep doing these. And if anything, I want to get onto a schedule that's somewhat rigid where we start doing live streams on both channels. So I'm working on something. Also, real quick, I'll share these on Instagram, but I got a couple of new movies this week mailed to me. So thank you to the studios who sent these out to me, because physical media is life. And when it completely dies, I die. But anyway, let me look this up here. The first Blu-ray I forgot to mention earlier was there's a new 4K steelbook of The Quick and the Dead coming out. It comes out October 7th. Now, I like me some Quick and the Dead. There's nothing that you can hate about Sharon Stone wearing a cowboy hat. There's nothing you can hate about this movie. But also, it stars Russell Crowe. This was directed by Sam Raimi, right? This is a Sam Raimi movie? I've seen this movie once. I liked it. I remember hearing the backstory on this, though, where the studio did not want to cast Russell Crowe because at the time he was basically a nobody, and Sharon Stone basically like campaigned for him to be cast in this movie. But anyway, really awesome steelbook. Give you guys a close-up of it. Check that out. Real cool Western vibe going there. There's the back of it right there. And I'd be curious to watch this on 4K. I haven't seen this movie in probably over a decade. I watched it on YouTube. Oh, and also has a young Leonardo DiCaprio, which I completely forgot he was in the movie. So I forgot that existed. But anyway, it comes out October 7th. Here's sort of like a look at what the steelbook looks like in there. A couple discs. So pretty cool. The next one, which I'm very excited about, and I have... let me bring this up too. Hang on. I believe this comes out this week or very soon, but it's Night of the Living Dead, the steelbook right there. Now, this is from 1990. I've seen Night of the Living Dead one time in my life, and I feel like I watched it a very, very long time ago when I was going through like a zombie phase of movies. But I've been meaning to go back and rewatch this for a very long time. And I think the Halloween season is most appropriate to go back and revisit this. But here's the steelbook of it. Focus. Focus! There you go. Okay. Here's the cover here. Pretty sweet looking steelbook in my opinion. And George Romero directed this. And here's what it looks like inside right there. Kind of a cool little edition of the steelbook. So I'm looking forward to going back and checking this out. Hopefully it looks awesome on 4K, and I can't wait to revisit this. And do you guys like Night of the Living Dead? Do you guys like the 1990 Night of the Living Dead? Let me know. I'm excited to check it out again. I just need a good zombie movie, you know? Maybe I'll watch this in my backyard on my outside projector. Maybe I'll do that so the neighbors can hear all the screams. Oh, that Flickinger guy is at it again. Now, you want to call the cops, honey? No, it's fine. So, all right. Mr. Awesome says, both channels, I'm too lazy, John. I don't know if I can keep up. Yeah, me neither, man. But I'm going to try. The great thing about the live streams, you don't have to watch them live. Watch the replay. And most importantly, if you're super lazy and you like short form content, what I want to do with these live streams is start making more clips because the kids love the clips. Cosborn says, John, what's your job now? Did you go back to your old job? Forgot what you were doing. Yeah, I was a project manager for an insurance company. And no, I don't do that any longer, and I probably would never do that because I had to sell my soul to Satan. But now I am now a licensed and certified home inspector. That's sort of my day job, but I don't have to do it every day. I have a very flexible schedule, and that's what I like. That's what I need. And most importantly, I get to get out of the house. I go somewhere for a couple hours, and then I'm done. And then I get to come back to the house. It's beautiful. It's the perfect job. I love it. So yeah, that took like 6 months for me to go through all the courses and get licensed. And it was a pain in the butt, but now I'm doing it. And I like it. It gives me flexibility, gives me freedom. And it's sort of like it's a practical career. I like that, you know, something about mixing that and combining that with YouTube and being creative and fun and making digital content and talking shit about movies. And then you sort of, you have a practical job where you can use your hands a little bit and move around. I like that balance. It evens me out. That's just who I am as a person. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I only saw the original, and I think the third sequel, and I think the third sequel from the 80s. Have you seen the trailer for Bride with Christian Bale? I have not. It's Tom Saverin's remake. Only seen the 1968 Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, I saw that, the black and white. I liked that. Is that the one that takes place in a farmhouse? Yes, it is. It does take place at a farmhouse. Logo Face says, have you seen how Best Buy is letting a third party sell their physical media on their website? Their place is insane. Yeah, that kind of pisses me off because I'll be honest with you. I was going to try to buy the Steelbook of Man of Steel, or not Man of Steel, sorry. When I think about Superman, I think about Steel. I think about the Steelbook. It all makes sense, Man of Steel. But anyway, I was going to try to buy Superman, the new Superman movie, whatever, on the Steelbook, but there was no place, no physical place was selling the physical copy of the Steelbook. What? Which kind of pissed me off. I went to Walmart. I went to Meijer. I went to Target. No one was selling this shit. And if they were, I didn't see it. So did you guys find a copy of the new Superman movie, the Steelbook, at any physical store location? Let me know down below if you did. But yeah, I saw Best Buy, I think, had it on their website. Dustin Rich says, during the spooky season, definitely check out From Beyond 1986, the 80s B horror movie, Joy. Add it to your imaginary list. And done. I added it. What is it called? Check out From Beyond 1986. That sounds really familiar. Ooh, that looks like Ivan Ooze, man. Look at this shit. Look at that. It looks like 2 pieces of bubble gum mixed with DNA evolved. I like it. Ooh, that's sexy too. I like all that. So it's definitely a pretty screwed up movie. Okay. I'm intrigued. Okay, I'll look into it. Have you guys seen it? Did you guys like it? Let me know. Okay, I'm going to check it out, man. I want a good cheesy horror film from the 1980s. Give me something I haven't seen, please. I just recently went back and rewatched Dusk. I'm sorry. I recently went back and rewatched Dusk Till Dawn, written by Tarantino, starring Tarantino. And I hadn't seen that in a long time. And I will say, I stand by my original thoughts on the movie. I always loved the first act of the movie. But once they get to the titty twister bar, where the tone completely shifts into like a crazy vampire movie with awesome practical effects, it's a lot of fun. I think I enjoyed the first half a bit more than the second half. And I think my wife feels the same way about it. But anyway, the point I wanted to make about From Dusk Till Dawn was, in that movie, Tarantino wrote a very sociopathic, psychotic character that he himself plays and he acts in the movie. And when you're watching the movie, and I don't know if this has been said anywhere or published, but this is just my analysis of it, being a huge Tarantino fan and knowing everything about the guy and keeping up with him throughout the years and listening to him in interviews and watching his movies, his character in Dusk Till Dawn, it feels like when he wrote that character, when he put pen to paper, he basically wrote every dark, sinister urge that he has as an individual for his on-screen character to do and portray. And hear me out for a second. What I mean by that is, I think he honestly wrote that movie to basically have Selma Hayek put her foot in his mouth. I genuinely think that is why that entire movie was written and made, and he cast himself in that role. So Selma Hayek would pour wine down her foot and put her foot in his mouth. I genuinely think that was a way of him getting that in an artistic way that no one could question. And I'm going to move on now, but that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. And hey, maybe that's the truth. Let's all just step back for a second and assume that is the truth. Would that be so far-fetched? Still an entertaining movie. And Selma Hayek in that movie, oh, top notch. All right. Let's go to the next one here. But I'm still a Tarantino fan. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. All right, the next one comes from Michael Witherspoon, who has been a member for 45 months. Oh my God. Michael, thank you so much. So glad you're back, John. Praying for you. Love you. Well, we answered that earlier, so thank you for the question once again. It makes me happy too, man. Michael Witherspoon also says, it makes me wonder what dirt Sam Worthington had on somebody in Hollywood in 2009, because that man was able to star in Avatar, Terminator Salvation in the same year, plus many movies he had no business starring in. Well, I can explain why. Okay, so here's the thing. And this is speculation theory, but I pick up on patterns. When it comes to James Cameron, if you look at James Cameron, throughout the course of all of his films, especially his earlier movies, he likes to cast like unknown actors who aren't necessarily like the best actors. And Terminator 1 cast. I'm trying to, I forgot his name. Let me look it up here. Yeah, and hear me out for a second. Like, if you go back to the first Terminator movie, Michael Biehn, I think is a fine actor. I really do, but he's unknown. And he hasn't really done a ton of things outside of like James Cameron movies. I think that's his biggest claim to fame. And I think there's something with like James Cameron wanting to cast an unknown actor who like at the same time isn't the best actor on the planet. I don't know what it is, but he likes to cast actors like that at points. Like, so when it comes to Sam Worthington in the first Avatar movie, originally I believe that was supposed to go to Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon, but he turned it down and we got Sam Worthington. I don't know how you go from Matt Damon to Sam Worthington. I'm not quite sure how that connection was made. But the thing about him being in that film as an unknown, Hollywood picks up on stuff like this. And they go, hey, Sam Worthington, he's in this next huge James Cameron $1 billion movie. So all these other movies, they start casting him for their movies. Because why? He's probably cheaper to hire at the time because he doesn't have a lot of name recognition just yet when they cast him. But he will with Avatar in like a year or two. So I think that's the formula. I think that's the reason they do things like this. And then eventually, when he stars in all of these movies and those movies get made and they come out, you go, that guy is not a very good actor. Like, I like me some Sam Worthington. He's a fine dude. And there have been roles where I thought he was fine in the movie. He can't hide that Australian accent to save his life. But I think that's why Hollywood does that. And what happens is you get a slew of these like 5 movies that sort of all build off the name recognition that he got in Avatar. And then once that flame sort of fades away, there's a reason that you don't see Sam Worthington in a lot of movies other than like the Avatar movies. But then again, who cares? The dude became a millionaire. What's he going to complain about? You know, so there's no negative there. But I will say the, what was it? Clash of the Titans movie, where just completely could not carry that movie. Like, what is this? Come on. And never. It doesn't matter. I was going to get really weird, but it doesn't matter. Let's go to the next question. Do you guys agree or disagree with that? Let me know. Wasn't Schwarzenegger nobody too? Absolutely. But the thing that Arnold has was charisma. And also you can't stop looking at the guy. And when it comes to the 1980s, especially the action, the biggest influx of action movies we've ever gotten from Hollywood at the time, where we wanted these larger than life dudes, Arnold was almost like created for that. He was molded for it. He was made for it. So, you know, where Arnold has always lacked in his acting ability, he's always made up for it with his screen presence and his charisma, some of which Sam Worthington has none of. All right, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Chris Salomu, who says, I need a party popper straight to my face. Well, you know what? Technically, I reserve these, but you know what? Just because it's been a few minutes, there you go. Take that. Keep the change, you filthy animal. All right, the next one comes from Michael Witherspoon, who says, I had no idea the villain in Happy Gilmore 2, who started that league, was also the director of Uncut Gems and the upcoming Smashing Machine movie. Yeah, Benny Safdie? Yeah. Why was he the villain? I don't know. Silvio says, love your content. Well, thanks, Silvio. Thank you so much, man. I love you being here, watching it. So thanks, man. Claudio Rogajon back again says, I think you missed my Streamlabs question. Claudio, where is that question? Because I thought I've answered everything. If it was about Spider-Man, we talked about it, man. I talked about it. I'm sorry, I did talk about it. If I missed it, please remind me in the normal chat. But I think I got it. Zack Snyder Smells says, hey, John. I'm glad you're back. 2 streams in 1 week. Yay. Just wanted to say, if you could go on a break again, can you please tell your members through a message on YouTube, because people start making things up about you, and I was worried, John. Thanks. Well, I get that. Sometimes I enjoy the speculation. I think some people said I was in jail, and that's not true. Not true at all. I just, sometimes I get in a low place where I can't hear my own voice. You know, I'm like, I can't stand that guy. And maybe you're already at that place. You're like, who is this guy? Shut up. I don't care. But I'll tell you this. My biggest critic is myself. I assure you of that. So next time I'll try to give you an update. I will. My best advice is maybe try to follow me on social media. I'll try to give you some updates there, what I'm doing. And if you ever reach out to me on X, I try my best to respond to people. If you directly ask me a question, I will do my best to respond to you. I really will. Okay, the next one comes from... Oh, gosh, here it goes. Okay. Stuckmann's Hot Bottom says... I hate that MJ and Ned are going to be in Spider-Man 4. Are they in? So MJ, Zoe, or Zendaya is confirmed for Spider-Man 4? I thought she wasn't in the movie. Has that been confirmed? Let me know. Yeah, someone said I got arrested on assault charges. I don't mind the speculation. Sometimes it's fun. I just wish it was a little more crazy than that. You know, can you say I lost my shit and went to a Walmart and caused chaos and barricaded the doors for 12 hours until the SWAT team came in and took me away as I screamed? At least make up something good. All right. Can we please watch the It Welcome to Derry trailer? I already watched it. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Listen, I'll take a good horror series on HBO. I think It is interesting. I'm curious to see if they can drag it out to like an 8-part episodic series. Because even in the movies, I'm like, once you learn the lore of It, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a lot. I don't know. I like the buildup is good. The mystique is good. But once you learn he's a cosmic clown from outer space, it's like, all right, what the fuck's this one? But I am curious to watch it. And I do think since this is a time period show, that's a lot of fun. But also I think like giving more backstory to the actual character It from like the 1800s would be a lot of fun. And if they keep in multiple seasons going further back in time and further back in time, kind of like Yellowstone did, I think that could be interesting. If I can just smell the bike tires, it'll be okay. Absolutely. And they just won't let me anymore. Logo Face says, I hate it too. They need Peter Parker to be on his own and meet new characters. Yeah, I'm really hoping MJ doesn't come back. I want a new Spider-Man where it's just simple neighborhood Spider-Man. Go back to basics. New characters, start fresh. That's what I want to see. Like Tom Holland's great. I don't think you need to recast him or anything like that. Just start fresh. Disconnect it from all the MCU mumbo jumbo and let's go back to basics. Like I like Ned, but I don't need to see that version of Ned again. Anthony says 1883 and 1923 are better than Yellowstone. I've heard that. I tried to get into Yellowstone, man, and I just couldn't. It's my land. I can't give up my land because my land. I'm going to protect my land. All right, man, whatever. I don't give a shit about your land. I don't. All right. Jason Nelson says, hey, John, have you watched any new streaming shows? It's not new, but I did start watching Euphoria. I'm on season 2 right now. And I will say, man, I'm kind of mad I didn't watch Euphoria sooner. I do like it. I just like the way it's shot and filmed. And there's some characters in there that I think are a lot of fun. And it's sort of grimy and gritty, but also funny. And I like the tone of the second season, I think, a bit more than the first season because it does go darker, but also there's like more comedy injected into it, which I think is a nice balance. But I like Euphoria. I like the way that it's filmed. Like there was one episode with Zendaya, who is a drug addict, and she just goes off the rails. And the entire episode is just her like looking for a fix, and it's very suspenseful and it's sort of like a pressure cooker. And I sort of like enjoyed that episode. There's also a character named Nate. I think it's Nate or Tyler, whatever. He sort of reminds me of like Christian Bale's American Psycho. He feels like Patrick Bateman as a teenager, which I quite enjoy that character. So yeah, I'm digging it. That's one new series I watched, and by new I mean it's 5 years old. I am looking forward to season 3 Monster on Netflix with Ed Gein, which I think comes out in a couple days. Looking forward to that quite a bit. Claudia Rojan, back here again, says, randomly got reminded of this movie, but what are your thoughts on the movie Fire in the Sky 1993? I think it still has the creepiest and most intense alien probing scene I've ever seen. What are your thoughts on the movie? Fire in the Sky. I don't think I've seen Fire in the Sky. Claudio, I don't think I've seen this movie, man. Have you guys seen Fire in the Sky? I mean, listen, there's nothing better than a probing scene. I'll tell you that right now. And looks kind of cool. What's got on IMDb? What's going on with this? Fire in the Sky has a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it sounds like some people like it, most people hate it. Okay. I'm mildly interested in it. Have you guys seen Fire in the Sky? Let me know down below. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And the next one comes from Ari Papermaster, who says, it sucks that Aronofsky Elon movie seems to not be happening, probably because of the recent stuff, right? I did not know Aronofsky was going to make an Elon Musk movie. I remember someone talking about that. I can almost see David Fincher directing an Elon Musk movie, sort of like what he did with The Social Network. There would be a lot to unravel there. I almost feel like when it comes to like making an Elon Musk movie, I feel like it's too soon to make that. I would like to see that movie in another 10 years because there's so many things happening with that guy when it comes to like politics and SpaceX that I feel like the conclusion, the big finale has not happened yet. And I feel like we have to wait and see what that is. And it could be anything. I couldn't even tell you. I could not even predict where it goes. I think we have to wait until that event happens to then do the movie. It just feels too soon right now. Chris V has just subscribed, so thanks, Chris V. Robert Giacenta, how's it going, Robert, man? Tell us a story of when you were younger and did something stupid or perverted. Give us the details, John. I'm your number one fan. You mean besides putting on my mother's underwear and dancing around the house? I'm just kidding. I've never done that. Let me think. I don't know. You know what? Okay. I remember when I was a teenager. No, I was probably, I think maybe 11. I want to say 11. I was definitely like prepubescent. Maybe 11 or 12. I remember my friend, me and another friend stayed the night at this one friend's house. And the one friend's house that we stayed the night at was typically the one friend that you didn't really go to his house that often or stay the night at his house that often. He would come to your house, right? And that was enough. But when you went to his house, it was just weird. It was different. And I remember one time we stayed the night. We're eating pizza, playing like Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time or something. And like he goes to the room and he comes back and like he sticks this thing in my one friend's ear and it starts vibrating. And come to find out that was his mom's dildo. Anyway, I don't know. Is that sufficient? Do I need to continue on with this story? No, I do not. Did he dare my friend to stick it in his mouth? Yes, he did. Okay? I took no part in this. I'm a witness to the events. I took no part. I'm an innocent bystander. I watched it. I watched it happen. Anyway, hope that's a good story for you. Stuckman's Hot Bottom says, what is you and your wife's Halloween costume this year? Whew, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure. I wanted to be, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. Eddie. I wanted to be Eddie from Stranger Things, and I was hoping my wife would be Christy because it feels like the last year you can pull off the Stranger Things costumes and it's still relevant, seeing how the final season comes out this year. So I wanted to do that. But when it comes to Halloween costumes, for me, I don't like anything that I like that people enjoy that story. Thank you guys. Someone said Diddy activities. Yeah, long before Diddy, and no baby oil required. But I like Halloween costumes that you can just dress in like a normal outfit and be comfortable. I don't like shit where you wear prosthetics and have to wear a mask. I just want stuff you can chill out in and be normal. So I'm not quite sure what we're doing this year, to be honest with you. I wanted to be the Ninja Turtles. She didn't want to do that. Fine. What are you guys going to be for Halloween this year? Drop those comments down below. What are you going to be for Halloween this year? Let me know. Jack Lame says, are you a fan of Lou Sanes? Didn't someone ask this in the last live stream? If that's some like joke I don't get, I'm sorry. I'm old. I don't know. Stuckman's Bottom says, directing sucks. I'm going to do more hilariosity reviews. Me too, man. Me too. Night King 01 says, John, have you ever seen Blind Fury? I don't know why I'm asking this, but I just saw the movie and thought it was really bad but funny. Blind Fury. No, man, I've never seen this shit ever. What is this shit? What is that? That looks like Hugh Hefner with a samurai sword. I don't know what that is. Blind Fury 1989. A blind Vietnam vet trained as a sword fighter comes to America and helps rescue the son of a fellow soldier. Well, there you go. But you can't even fault the premise that much. Remember the movie Crocodile Dundee, which was a big blockbuster success that made a lot of money and spawned like multiple sequels? It's just a dude from Australia that comes here. That's what the movie is. That's it. Anyway. Okay, let's see. Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern from Jurassic Park. Actually, my wife is a teacher. Her entire co-workers are going to do a Jurassic Park thing. My wife is actually going to be John Hammond, though. So there's that. Someone said Donald Trump. Do you think you can do an entire live show doing a Buffalo Bill impression? Probably. I probably could. But to get the full effect, I would need all of you in a well in my basement as I did it, looking up at me. And for our next main question, first I want to talk about Chris Stuckmann's new movie. What movie would you want to watch at the Las Vegas Sphere? Ooh, Interstellar would be pretty sexy. I mean, I would watch the new Wizard of Oz. I mean, I'd go watch that. But I think Interstellar, anything huge and epic would be pretty awesome. To be honest, John, the new Street Fighter coming out next year, I guess, I give it a watch, but the last movie wasn't good. I'm kind of looking forward to the new Street Fighter. It definitely stars like WWE wrestlers, which is interesting, but let's wait and see the trailer. It's either going to be the worst thing ever or maybe slightly entertaining. Have I ever seen the Buttercream Gang in the 90s? I have not. All right. Yeah, I want to watch Basic Instinct on the Sphere. That's what I want to watch. I want to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's what I want to see on the Sphere. The gray in your hair makes you look mature and handsome, John. Well, good. I hope it also makes me look trustworthy as well. It's all just a facade, though, because underneath, evil is lurking. Behind this cold glaze is nothing. Okay. Logo Face says, are you going to catch Back to the Future when it goes back to theaters October 30th? I'll probably just watch it at home. But Back to the Future on the Sphere would be pretty awesome as well. That'd be a pretty cool event. Oh, also on the Sphere, watching like something like Jurassic Park would be a fun time. I don't know. What movie would you guys like to watch at the Sphere? Okay, the next one comes from Claudia Rogajon, who says Reanimator is pretty fun and cheesy 80s horror movie. It's made by the same people who made From Beyond. It's a really funny movie, and it's that way on purpose. It also has great practical effects. I've seen it. I actually owned the DVD a long time ago. And I wonder if I have it in like a Blu-ray or DVD collection update video from years ago. But I remember like the green case of the DVD. It was like a thicker case. I had that many years ago. But it's okay. I've seen it once. It was okay. Night King 01 says, John, I don't know why, but have you ever found yourself just watching utter garbage for no reason? Sometimes good cheesy garbage is fun, for sure. Like I just mentioned, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Like, I think I watched that a handful of years ago, and I was just like, this is what I need to cleanse my soul. So sometimes, yes. Gravity in 3D, that would be definitely interesting on the Sphere. Gravity is a great movie. It just doesn't hold up as well as I wanted it to. Not to say the visuals don't, just the story. Okay, the next one comes from Night King 01 who says, John, I think Michael Biehn was amazing in Tombstone as Johnny Bingo. Please don't compare him to the black hole of charisma that is Sam Worthington. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. I was just trying to give you a comparison of an unknown actor who isn't a household name that really was only popularized through James Cameron's work. That's all I'm saying. The next one comes from your guy here who says, might have already asked, but do you think in one battle after another, Anderson was trying to present both sides as extreme? I said that exact phrase in my review earlier on in the live stream. I did. I think both sides go to extreme versions of what they should. It's like when you have both sides of a political argument, it's like one extreme after another extreme. And if both people are at their extreme limits, well, doesn't everything seem utterly crazy and nonsensical to some degree? Because right here in the middle is where you should meet, and that's where logic exists. So yeah, I did pick up on the political satire of what he was trying to come across. He was playing both sides as like the most extreme, hyperbolic version of themselves. Absolutely. Robert J. Chinta says, rewatch Requiem for a Dream, and it's scarier than most horror movies released today. I know it's Pretty Baby, but didn't take it out for air. What? What am I saying? I know it's Pretty Baby, but didn't take it out for air. No, man. Requiem for a Dream, it's disgusting to watch. It makes your skin crawl. It makes you never want to shoot up heroin, which is probably a good thing. But then again, it did never mind. We'll just leave it there. But no, it's got some pretty intense scenes in that movie. Like you got Marlon Wayans puking and mashed potatoes. You got shock treatment going on. Ugh. It's an insane movie. It definitely doesn't have a lot of rewatch for me. I've seen it probably 2-3 times. And like, I don't know if I'll ever see it again in my lifetime, but man, it's definitely a movie that makes you feel something uneasy and disgusted. But that is, if anything, it's the best PSA not to do drugs. Night King 01 says, do you hope that the cinematography of these Spider-Man movies is going to be better than what we've gotten so far? We've been spoiled by the original Raimi trilogy, or have our standards dropped? Yeah, when it comes to all the Spider-Man MCU movies recently, they all sort of feel like modern slop MCU. They're all very standard, and there's no real artistic approach. You know, you can't go, oh, that's the style of that filmmaker, or that's the style they were going for. They feel very standard. And I am hoping that with the new MCU films going forward, we do get more style in our MCU movies. That's what we need. Each movie needs to have a little bit of individualization from the director, and to make them feel like they stand apart, and not just like directed and edited by AI. So I am hoping the new Spider-Man movie has a certain style and tone to it. I hope it does, but we will see. Okay, we got one here from the movie guy. Hey, movie guy, how's it going? Thanks for the question. And you get a delicious, a magical, I don't know why I called it delicious, but you get a party popper. 3, 2, 1. There you go. Ooh, got a little party popping up there. Little dinglers. Got a whole shoebox full of them. Dingly ones, too. What movie's that from? Okay, here it goes. The movie guy. Getting in here late. I just finished watching Insidious Chapter 3 for the first time. So much better than the previous 2 films. What's better in your opinion? Sinister, Smile, Poltergeist, Insidious, or The Conjuring? That is a loaded question. Let's back up. Let's back way up. Let's question our choices and our life. I like the first Sinister. The only thing I don't like about Sinister is the antagonist. His name is Bagul. Okay. But everything else I like. The Smile movies, they could not exist in the universe and I wouldn't miss a thing. Though I think the second Smile movie was far better. Poltergeist, I like Poltergeist. I've never loved it. I love the vibe of it. I love the filmmaking style of it. I like Spielberg being the executive producer, who a lot of people theorize that he actually directed most of the movie. And also the true story of the little girl who starred in that movie, who like tragically died, was very weird. Insidious, I will say this, when it comes to Insidious and The Conjuring, I went back and recently rewatched the first Conjuring movie, which was my favorite, and I like it, and but it just didn't have that rewatchability to me. And I said this earlier in the live stream, probably like an hour ago or 2 hours ago. Something about movies where the tormentor is just lurking in the dark shadows and it ends in an exorcism. I don't know. They just don't do much for me anymore. And halfway through the Conjuring, as much as I love the movie and I think it's like great and I really enjoyed it, multiple times watching it, upon rewatch, it just didn't quite do much for me. And that's not to say it's a bad movie. I think if you've never seen it, it'll definitely scare the shit out of you. But for me, I don't know, the rewatchability of certain horror movies just aren't clicking as much. So for me, I think Insidious is more fun because you actually have like an antagonist. You have Redface. You just have more lore to it. It's not about the Ed and Lorraine Lauren fabricating and embellishing their experiences. So yeah, I'd probably lean towards Insidious. I like Insidious more than The Conjuring. Now, does that mean I enjoy all of the sequels? No, they're flawed, but I think I'd much rather rewatch the sequels to the Insidious franchise. So there's that. And I remember almost nothing about Insidious Chapter 3. That had, didn't that take place in an apartment building? Oh no, that was the time period one, right? Where it cut back into time and you had the little girl and like there was a prison. I vaguely remember that. I have a review for that movie, and funny enough, I shot the review with Stuckmann many, many years ago, and I would have to rewatch that to remember my thoughts on it. I remember thinking like, if they were to, it was, what's her name when she's it was Lynn Shay, her character when she was younger, and it was the backstory of like where she grew up, and then it cuts to like modern day, and I remember thinking to myself, when that movie started, had they just kept it in that time period when she is like a little girl, I thought that was the more fascinating approach to the story. I wish the movie would have just stayed there. Okay, that's all I remember about it. So, thank you for the question though, man. Thank you so much. Eric Carter says, I loved The Conjuring 1 and 2. Yeah, they were both great. I just don't... The rewatchability has really lacked a little bit. I don't know. Someone said Hereditary. I thought Hereditary was fine until the ending where you go, oh, because cults. You just go, oh, cults in a treehouse. Got it. Like the buildup was great. There was a great series of scenes and performances, but it's just that ending. Laughing Stock Media says, I live near the Warren Occult Museum, also driven past Union Cemetery many times. That's pretty cool, man. Is the museum pretty neat? Does it live up to expectations? You can't rewatch a horror movie because you know what's coming. And the horror relies on the unexpected scares, much like comedy. It gets old quickly. Yeah, and that's a fair point to make. But I will say there are like horror films where there is a lot of rewatchability to them because there's like a certain story element or a certain setting or the antagonist is just so fun and enjoyable to watch or so terrifying to watch that you're just glued to it that has rewatchability. Like Nightmare on Elm Street movies, right? Like without Freddy and Robert Englund's charismatic approach to that character being terrifying or bizarre or what have you, I think that's like an aspect that lends itself to rewatchability. When you have a scary movie that is about some demonic force that lives in the shadows. It's like, okay, like no one in this movie is that interesting. I'm tired of seeing people scared of the shadow, and the shadow itself isn't that intriguing. So it's like, what rewatchability does it have? So I think some horror movies can have rewatchability, just certain ones can't. And usually ones that have exorcisms in them, just, I don't know. I mean, you can, like The Exorcist, yeah, all day long. Completely classic movie, but yeah, that's my quick take. All right. BB says, thoughts on Miami Vice remake with Joseph Kosinski, and what did you think of the Michael Mann movie? Yeah, my thing is the Joseph Kosinski one going to be sort of like the Michael Mann one? The Michael Mann one to me was not that good. I remember Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell in the movie, and it definitely had that Michael Mann vibe to it. I don't remember much about the story. I just remember thinking like it's not that great. And I think that came out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but also don't correct me if I'm wrong. That came out after Collateral, and like Collateral really like turned me back on to Michael Mann movies, because I always enjoyed movies like Heat and his criminal-esque movies. And I was looking forward to Miami Vice, and I watched it and I went, oh man, this is just like sort of just like not doing anything whatsoever for me. I think, did that come out in like 2005 or 6? Anyway, but Joseph Kosinski, I am looking forward to his Miami Vice movie. Now, do we need a Miami Vice movie? No, not necessarily. But if you want to have two detectives that live in Miami with this fun movie where you have speedboats and car chases, I think Joseph Kosinski would be a good director for that. My question is, does the movie take place in modern day, or is it a 1980s time period-esque movie? Because if it doesn't take place in the time period of the 1980s, which is what Miami Vice is all about, like wearing the white jackets with the pink t-shirts underneath it, then I think that's a disservice to the movie. That immediately turns me off just a little bit. But I am hoping like it has a 1980s time period. Does anybody know? Let me know. Logo Face says, what is the last book that you read? Project Hail Mary, which is being made into a movie, or it is made into a movie, and it comes out this March. Starring Ryan Gosling. That is the last book I read, and I loved it. I'm hoping the movie does justice to the novel. I really am. Okay. The Witch is probably my favorite horror movie in recent years. Interesting. Yeah, I liked, once again, I liked The Witch, I did, but then it just cuts to the end where you just see witches floating. They're floating. Oh, okay, there's the title of the movie right there, got it. Could have called it Witches, because there's multiple of them. But I liked the build-up, but not one of my favorite Eggers movies. It's in the 1980s. Okay, baby. Woo, I like that. Because when you make a Miami Vice movie, if you got that 80s synth score, the 80s action, the tough guy archetypes, man, that is what I want to see. So that makes me excited. Okay, good. Perfect. Good. Logo Face says, do you have or have seen The Lighthouse on 4K? I think I have The Lighthouse on 4K. I have it on Blu-ray or 4K. I think I have it on Blu-ray. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I have it on Blu-ray. But it looks great. You can almost smell the farts because it looks so great. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Okay, I'm going to answer like a handful of more questions. So if you guys have any questions you feel like I have to talk about or topics you want me to talk about for like the next minute or two, try to get those in, and I'll try to cover every question that you guys get in for like the next minute or two. So please get those questions in now. If you're waiting, this is the time. It's the final countdown. I'm going to get some P. Diddy baby oil and smear it across my biceps. All right. Here we go. Alan Smithy says, you want horror? Watch Audition. That effing movie will F you the F up. Directed by Tarantino's favorite, Takashi Mike, watch it, John, watch it. Is Audition the one with the do they keep someone in a bag? Yeah, is that it? Someone's kept in a bag or something. You know what? Yep. I was okay. Yes. There it is. Okay. I will watch it. I've seen clips of it many years ago, and it was one of those movies it was like a foreign film that I had on my list to watch that I never got around to. So I will check this out. This seems like the right season to watch something that's really screwed up. So thank you for reminding me. Yeah. Okay. I have always been meaning to watch this. I did see a clip of the movie, and it was pretty screwed up. All right, let's go to the next one here. And thanks for the question, Alan. Claudia Rojan back again says, I saw some of Michael Mann's Miami Vice movie while my brother was watching it. And from the title I saw, I just thought it was the most generic cop movie ever. Like every cop movie trope there is. Well, you have to understand, the origin of this came out in the 1980s. So that's where a lot of those stereotypes build upon. But yeah, the thing about Michael Mann's version of it, I don't know why he wanted to make a Miami Vice movie. Like, what did you have to say that needed to be said that hasn't been said before? And for me, that's the biggest underlining issue with the movie. Dustin Rich says, Audition made me very concerned about the director. Ooh, that's a selling point. Thoughts on Yellow Jackets? I only saw a few episodes. My wife likes the series. It was kind of like Lord of the Flies with teenage girls. That's as far as I got. I got a few episodes in. Okay, the next one comes from the movie guy, who says, with October 1st being tomorrow, can we all agree that Halloween Ends is an abomination to cinema? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The fact that movie got made is questionable at best. Now, I have a movie night talking about Halloween Ends. If you want to go watch it, it's over on the Flickpick channel. I dress up like Marty McFly and I watch Halloween Ends. But I hated that movie. I hated that movie with a passion. And it really just feels like you could just blurt out random ideas while having a stroke relating to Michael Myers and get a better movie out of it than the junk that they provided us. First and foremost, they give us a character, whatever his name was, he feels like modern day Corey Feldman, that I don't care about, I don't like, he's terribly written. And then by the end of the film, the best thing that the movie had going for it were some of the flashbacks from like the late 70s, giving you like a different perspective or a different viewpoint of the situation that was happening Halloween night. And I liked that. And I think that's what the entire movie almost should have been. But then you have the rest of the movie where like everyone's at a hospital. And then the ending of the movie is like they all beat up Michael Myers with like baseball bats and like irons that you would like iron clothes with, because, you know, every suburban housewife who's afraid of her own shadow would definitely come outside and start beating up Michael Myers, the sociopathic serial killer who has mystic powers, wearing a creepy mask. I'm sure they'd come out with their iron and start beating him up with it. Absolutely, for sure. And it was just a really bad movie and a disservice. And if that was like the conclusion to that franchise, how did that get greenlit? Who thought that was a good idea? Did they even ask like anyone who's a fan of the Halloween franchise if this is a competent, well-rounded, pleasing movie? Like, do you like this? Do you like what you're watching? No, first and foremost, you ask someone, hey, do you like Michael Myers? Yeah. Have you seen some of the movies? Yeah. Okay. What do you think about this? Like, did they ask anyone that question? Did they have a test audience for the movie? I would safely assume they did not. So I think it's an abomination against humanity. I do. So those are my thoughts on it. And also, you have the character Tommy. Now, Tommy from the original, who was the little boy Laurie Strode was babysitting, Tommy in the new movie grows up and he's very aware of Michael Myers. He's like practicing and he has like a baseball bat. But the way that they wrote Tommy's character, he like was incompetent. And here's what I would have done with the character Tommy. Okay. If you have this small kid who grew up his entire life getting ready, being prepared for the return of Michael Myers, his defense mechanisms are on edge, then that new version of Tommy, they should have had a guy who like trained his entire life in like MMA. He weapon trains. He's good with martial arts. He's ready for hand-to-hand combat. He's a badass motherfucker, okay? That way, if Michael Myers ever shows up, he has some physicality to bring for that confrontation. And I think that would have made a much more interesting Tommy, like a dude that worked out every day, just waiting for Michael Myers to return so he can fuck him up. That would have been a cool version of Tommy. That's what I would have liked to have seen. But they didn't do that. No, they just, whatever. Tommy has a baseball bat. There you go. Stupid. Lazy. So those are my thoughts on it. Jason says, just so unsatisfying. Yeah. Dustin Rich says, I hope Street Fighter will be tongue-in-cheek and campy. Yes, if Street Fighter, here's what I want to see from the new Street Fighter movie. It definitely does need to be tongue-in-cheek. It needs to take place in the early 1990s where the video games exist. And if it is self-aware, but also has some like cool fighting sequences, that's all the movie needs to be. And I'm hoping it is. But thanks for the question, Dustin. And thank you even more for the Nicolas Cage emoji. And thank you even more for being a member. So thank you guys for that. Claudia Rojon says, I think you're thinking of Halloween Kills, not Halloween Ends. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I get them mixed up. Oh, yeah. Halloween Ends. Which one is this? What'd I say? We're talking about Halloween Kill? I don't remember. Okay, whatever. Halloween Ends is what I was talking about. Halloween Kills is even worse. Or actually, maybe better. I don't know. I kind of forgot about it. Is that the... I thought she... I forgot Halloween... I forgot the second one in that trilogy. Yeah, I don't... It just blends together. Anyway, my sentiments stay true to both movies. All right, let's go to the next one here. I'm sorry if I got confused. They all kind of blur together. Okay. Dustin Rich says Michael Myers versus John Wick. Who wins? Oh, I don't know. If you can beat Michael Myers up with an iron like a suburban housewife could in one of the movies, I'm sure John Wick would kick Michael Myers' ass. Yeah, Ends is even worse. Yes, you're right. Evil dies tonight. Yes, with the iron that I iron my husband's shirts with. We'll beat him up in the streets. All right, we got a big question here from Be Kind to Yourself and Others. Super too generous. Thank you so much for the question. And you get a magical and mystical party popper right there, baby. You know what? I'm gonna do something I've never done here on the live show tonight. I'm gonna give you guys a triple dipper party popper. That's right. You've heard it here first, folks. Triple dipper party popper. Here it goes. You guys ready for this? You ready? 3. Ooh. 3. You guys ready? I'm going to get crazy with it. 3, 2, 1. How'd you like that? Huh? That's a bukkake of party poppers all over the screen. Let's get it. Here, put a little on my face. Oh. All right. Let's all calm down. Let's all calm down. Okay. It's in the right there. Okay. There we go. There we go. Thank you so much for the question. See, that question right there helped me pay the internet bill this month to make live streams possible. So thank you very much. Thank you too much. Very kind. Okay, here it goes. Be Kind to Yourself and Others says, you had me laughing out loud several times during the stream. Well, thank you for that. Sometimes when I'm babbling on, I forget people are actually listening, so I hope it's funny and entertaining, or else you just think I'm a douchebag. But either way, I'll take it, as long as you're watching. So thank you. Look into the TED Talk on self-compassion. It really helped me out. I used to be very critical of myself. Hope that helps. Well, yeah, man. Thank you so much. I'll tell you what, and that's not bad advice. When you're someone who makes YouTube videos and you've been making YouTube videos for like, almost half your life, it's kind of weird to say that. You see yourself very often. And you start watching yourself. And the older you get, the more self-aware you become. Or maybe the older you get, the less unaware you become. But for me, I become overly self-aware. And I become very critical, especially of myself. And I'm just like, you know what, man? You're not good enough. You're not funny enough. You're not witty enough. What are you doing? And then sometimes I get on TikTok and I scroll for 5 minutes and I go, you know what? You should go back to YouTube. So thank you so much for that. And I'll tell you what helps me a lot. ChatGPT. You can use it as a therapist. And I ask it some very deep, complex questions only about life and the matrix theory and the simulation theory and who I am as a person and my personality type. And it has helped me sort some things out. So technology technology in some ways can be useful, but give it about 10 years and I think AI will take over and we will all be slaves to some kind of digital overlord. So there's that. But thank you for the question. Thanks so much for that. Okay. The next one comes from Leo B, who says, "Hey John, out of curiosity, where is Tiny Todd? We have talked about Tiny Todd 497 times. I buried Tiny Todd in the Blu-ray bin at Walmart back in 2014. It's in one of the Flick Trip videos. I promise you it's there. I buried him in the Blu-ray bin in 2014. Now, does that mean he's not somewhere lurking in the shadows in my attic right now listening because his soul was resurrected by Satan? Possibly. I'm not quite sure. But maybe, just maybe, this Halloween season, Tiny Todd will come back." Okay, we have to stop now. He's listening. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Okay, let's keep going. All right. The next question comes from Night King 01, who says, "Halloween Kills has one of the stupidest intros I have ever seen. When Michael Myers comes out of that burning house and the firefighters immediately prepare to fight him with that hilarious slow-mo square up, it made me laugh so hard I stopped watching." Well, at least it didn't make you want to put peanut butter on your penis, because improv is that's so funny. Put that in the final cut. Peanut butter on his penis. What a hilarious line. That's from the 2018 movie. That line alone makes me not want to rewatch it. But anyway, I forgot that he fought the firefighters in the opening scene. It's like, these dudes are actually trying to help you, man. Like, you're on fire. They're trying to put it out. What are you doing, dummy? Are you stupid? Yeah, I forgot the plot of Halloween Kills. I don't remember what else happens in that movie. I really don't. I watched it once and I was like, yeah, this franchise, they had the IP, they had everything they needed, they had the budget, and once again, they just. All right. Bruce Cook says, "If Tiny Todd comes back, will he bring Scuba Steve? Nah, Scuba Steve's not a good guy. You don't want him around." Okay, Corey Cunningham. Yeah, that's the dude in Halloween Ends. That Corey Feldman wannabe character. The movie guy says, "That ain't good, John. It's data mining from you just saying, yeah, I know, but it's useful sometimes, and it corrects my grammatically misspelled sentences. Sometimes it's useful." Do I think it's soaking up all of our information and using it against us at some point? Oh, absolutely. You bet, yeah. Dustin Rich says, "Has your wife ever caught you crying in the shower with a toy shark?" Yes, but no toy shark. I'll leave it there. The movie guy says, how far back is the Shelby Oaks talk? It's the first main topic we talk about. So right in the beginning of the live show. If you missed it, just scroll back. All of my main topics come in the beginning of the live show. So, okay. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up the live show right there, but I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me once again for another live show. We've been talking for almost 3 hours, so thank you so much for coming here, looking at my stupid face, and if you want to, please do give the video a like. That does help that YouTube algorithm, and if you missed the last live show from last week, well, check it out. It's on the channel right now. You can always replay the live shows anytime you want, so if you can't catch them live, please watch the replays. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys missed the giveaway, scroll back to watch that. I did give away a couple Blu-rays to a couple lucky someones. So as always, guys, I'll see you guys later this week with a brand new live show. And get ready. Halloween's coming. Tomorrow's October 1st. This is it. Don't get scared now. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, I'm still recording. Here, let me end it this way. There we go. Okay, bye-bye.